Some of my destinations have
As
errors.
have warnings. What's that mean?
What the fuck? Premium account experts required to create live broadcasts on their platform. Please upgrade. I can't do it
You
because I
you
don't.
can you can only do it to two account. You can only do it to two accounts.
Oh yeah, I only did one.
Which one? What you went to X?
Yeah.
Well, try fix that, and I'll give the introduction because we're live now. I'll just mute your mic for the meantime. Welcome everyone. We've got a great panel tonight. You know, Dr. Davinsky. I am your host. We've got Jelani here, and we also have D to the Dre and Dr. Alaska. So tonight we're going to talk about the infighting within conservatism right now, and why so many conservatives are backlashing against Nick Fuentes and the Groypers. So, look, conservatism, I feel it's been hijacked to some degree by neo Nazism. And despite what you think about Nick Fuentes, he is a neo Nazi. You can disagree with me, you can come up on the panel, you can explain why. But Nick has numerous times he's praised Hitler. He's done lot of racial determinism when it comes to, black people are like this, Jewish people are like that, and they're biologically driven in that manner. So, Ben Shapiro being Jewish, he's obviously fought against that. We have D to the Dre, who is a big Palestine supporter. Dre, so how do you feel about? I mean, I understand how you feel about Israel and Zionism, but how do you feel about Jewish people as a collective? Do you think that there's something inherently wrong with their biology, or do you think that it's a cultural or religious phenomena?
Hey, thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here. Jewish people as a collective are, according to their religion, should be abiding by the Torah. But unfortunately, today it seems like Jewish people as a collective are have like a much more sinister, nefarious plot going on, and in the affairs of humanity and global governance. That's just from outside looking in. But me personally, I don't hate Jews or think all Jews are bad as a collective. However, I feel like there are inherent problems within the teachings and practices which have been passed down from generation to generation to what we have today as a modern day collective Jewry. But whether that's ethnic Jews, religious Jews, ideological Jews, they're like a box of chocolate. They come in all shapes, sizes, and colors and forms. But I mean, you have Jews who are anti-Zionists. You have Jews who are 100% Zionists. You have Zionists that are not Jews. You have Muslim Zionists, Christian Zionists. So it's really, really hard to just identify them as a collective because they shapeshift and metamorph into forms that are unrecognizable. But at the end of the day, there is like it seems like a greater effort by the most elite and most powerful and dominant Jews, I should say, in the world, whether they're religious or ethnic or ideological, to maintain some type of global power, and hegemony for this small group of people. So and it's unfortunate that it has to be identified as a collective because then your average Jew who may be a very good, genuine hearted person is being attacked and condemned because the behavior of of these others. So but yeah, that's my 2 cents for now. Thank you.
Yeah, so I mean, look, I think that's more of a sensible take where it's not this biological determinism. Like, if you're born, a lot of people from the Groypers, if you're even ancestrally Jewish in any sense, like, I'm 25% ancestrally Jewish, right? And people say, oh, you're Jewish. I'm like, I was raised Catholic. I know nothing about Judaism, but it's like, oh, well, I have these like Ashkenazi genes, therefore I am an evil person. It's just encoded into my DNA. But if you can try reconnect Dre to your X account, that would be much appreciated because I know a lot of your followers would probably be interested in this conversation. So if you can try and reconnect, disconnect, reconnect, I'd really appreciate that. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to the Jewish question, I do think that there is a supremacist ideology behind the religion. It is an ethno religion where you know you can't really be Jewish without having an ethnic and genetic component to Judaism. Like you can convert to Judaism, but even then, a lot of Jews will not consider you actually Jewish. So it's a weird phenomena where, they are God's chosen people, which, could be seen as a supremacist ideology when you say that you are God's chosen. But the way that I've heard Jews kind of rebuttal that was that basically when they say they're God's chosen, it doesn't actually mean that they are preferred by God. In a sense, it harms them worse because non-Jews can technically go to heaven if we follow the 10 Noahide laws, which are basically similar to the 10 commandments, like no idols, blah, blah, blah. Like basically the 10 commandments, very similar. Whereas Jews, in order to be granted heaven, they have to follow 100 or 200 of these codes. So in some sense, like when they say they're God's chosen people, it's not like necessarily a supremacist way of thinking. It's that they actually have to do more. And someone like me, Jelani, or Dre, or Dr. Alaska, we just have to follow the 10 basic Noahide laws. Have you heard this, Dre? Like, what? How do you respond to that?
All right, just there's a lot said there. One of my best friends is an Ashkenazi Jew. His name is Evan. The dude's totally cool as F. I'm gonna watch my profanity here because I don't know who may be watching. Somebody I've known for like about 11 years now, ongoing, and he's a great dude. He loves Jamaican women. Freaking he goes out, he parties. I don't think he practices like Judaism, but he's an Ashkenazi Jew, and he's like somebody me and him talk on FaceTime like every day. And he's going to school to be a lawyer in New York. And I always joke around with him like, oh, that's one of the most Jewish things you can do. So yeah, obviously, just because someone has some Ashkenazi ancestry doesn't mean they're inherently evil and is out to get you. So that's definitely true. Now, as far as the Noahide laws, I mean, from my understanding, I mean, I don't know, man. Under Noahide laws, allegedly, based on some sources and voices out there, that under Noahide laws, idol worshippers or idolaters are to be beheaded. Now, if Noahide laws is something that comes from a Jewish religious foundation, then under Noahide laws, anybody that worships Jesus Christ, peace be upon him, as their Lord and Savior, would be would be executed by off having their head decapitated. And with somewhere in the U.S. statutes, there's like Noahide laws are considered ethical values, like an ethical religious value. So it's something that they observe. So it's not necessarily enshrined into law yet. I don't want to say yet, God forbid. But yeah, I'm not sure, man, about these Noahide laws or Ten Commandments. And when it comes to Jews and the Torah or the Yishvas, I should say, or Yishvas, if I'm saying it right, someone fact check me. It's about they have 613 commandments that is commanded to them by their God. But I feel like with us Gentiles, I would consider most of us are being whether we're Muslim, whether we're Christian, we all have something to hope for in the return of the Messiah, when then there will be a one kingdom on earth, ruled by the Messiah, a kingdom reigning for 1,000 years. There will be no Jew, no Gentile, no Muslim, no Christian. We'll all be one in Christ. This is even according to Islam. But when you come for the Jewish eschatology perspective, they're supposed to, all the Gentiles are supposed to work for them. They're waiting on their Moshiach, which would be considered the false Messiah to us, or the Antichrist of Christianity, right? And then, but in their version, it would be their Moshiach, their kingdom ruled on earth, ruled out of Zion as the capital of the new Jew world order, and where they would have 2,800 Gentile slaves to themselves. So I don't know how these things reconcile into people living under certain laws. Whether is it going to be Christian law, Noahide law, Sharia law, or the one law of Christ? I don't know. I really don't know. So that's just me speaking out loud, just brainstorming. But yeah, hopefully I'll answer your question a little bit.
Yeah, I'm gonna Google the Noahide laws later. Just when you touch the hand movements are fine, but when you touch the table, it really like muffles the sound. It's so just keep that in mind. Doctor Alaska, you are from Alaska. What are your thoughts on Groypers? What are your thoughts on conservatism? What are your thoughts on Jews?
I don't really have any right now. I had some thoughts initially, but I kind of tuned out because I'm not too into it.
Well, we've got 30 people across my platforms. I think Jelani would probably be about the same. So, Dr. Alaska, you should connect yours as well. The more people that we connect to, the larger the audience, and the more benefit there is, because we're coming across with each other. Jolani, I know that you're not a big fan of the Groypers. Do you want to give your 2 cents? How do you feel about this conversation?
Well, yeah, I'm not a big fan of them, as far as their ideology, and mainly how they feel about Black Americans. But as I said last night, I am in favor of the political tactic in which they are using to bogart or to debo the Republican Party, or the conservative ideology rather. I'm a big fan of that. I'm a big proponent of it, because it is what you must do when your leadership does not pay you any mind. When your leadership does not pay you any attention, you must take these type of measures to hold them accountable. And so, as you saw from Ben Shapiro today, and people of his particular ilk, they are not happy with that. Um, and they're going to push this. They're going to push the racism narrative as a way to try and discredit Nick. But what they fail to realize is, how actually racist America is. So they're going to be in for a big surprise if they think they're going to be able to shame the Groypers with racism. They won't. As a matter of fact, it will only, probably for the most part, embolden them and strengthen them. And this video from Ben Shapiro today, it just furthers the line in the sand, or I would say it deepens. It deepens the line in the sand between the traditional and the establishment conservatives and the new Groyper movement that is now taking over.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that you can shame the Groypers with racism. I mean, they're openly racist. So that's not a good tactic. Um, and at the end of the day, look, I think that there are some legitimate frustrations people have against Israel and APAC and the lobbying there. And people are kind of fed up with that whole situation. Dr. AK, can you just mute your mic, bro?
Yeah.
We're up to we're up to about 50 live listeners across all platforms. Hopefully Drake can come back. We're expecting MAGA to come in here too, because he is a more traditional conservative. Um, D to the Dre, would you say that your issue? So I see like the anti-Semitism from two angles, right? There's people that hate what's going on with quote unquote the Jews and Israel because of Palestine, and there's also people that just hate Jews because they think that Jews are promoting miscegenation, they're promoting like pornography, they're promoting everything. So all of societal ills are based on the Jews. So, you know, I feel like there's two types of people that hate Israel right now. It's people that just hate Jews, and it's people that are actually, against the genocide that's going on there. Have you encountered this? Like, how do you feel about, neo-Nazism versus, say, just freedom of oppressed people?
Thank you. That's a beautiful question. By the way, how do I sound?
You sound good. As long as you don't touch the table, then it
Okay,
doesn't muffle.
absolutely. Also, I'm connected to my Facebook now. So so yeah, any of my Facebook audience, if you're there, hope you enjoy the show. So essentially, you're saying, sorry, I've been facing with this issue, right? And recently, as you can see, my name is I Hate Zionism, right? It was recently I Hate Israel, but it was never I Hate the Jews, right? Because man, I mean, I nowadays I find myself always run into an obstacle where I'm being called a Jew hater, a Nazi, because I'm criticizing Israel and I'm against the genocide in Gaza. So, and I mean, in a way, there has been a lot of instances, even on this platform, where we've seen people, support, the Palestinians, support the Gazans, speak out against the genocide, and then on another surface, they're saying, "Oh, we got to ban all the Muslims, all the Browns from America, blah blah blah." I'm like, You're like, whoa, what? So it's like, are they really? Are like, So in a way, yes, there are certain individuals out there. I wouldn't say necessarily have hijacked or the move of being pro Palestinian or whatever, but kind of have a lot of this Groyper movement talk against about the Jews, about this, about that. A lot of this stuff didn't start since until after October 7th. Let's be honest. If had October 7th not happened, we probably wouldn't even be here talking to each other. So in a way, October 7th, and Israel carrying out this horrific genocide, essentially a Holocaust, in front of the whole world to see, has given the avenue and the stage for anybody that's anti-Israel or anti-Jew to come out and criticize them and talk against them. However, yes, it is kind of disingenuous, I should say, for people who are posing to be pro-Palestinian or pro-Muslim and against, the persecution of brown people, right? And then on the flip side, they turn around and they're saying, "Oh, we got to get the Muslims out of our country because of the Jews, the Jews, the Jews, the Jews, the Jews." So it's kind of an argument that falls flat on its face in the grand scheme of things. Just say that you hate Jews. Just say that you just hate Jews, and you want to get rid of everybody from your country, and you don't give a shit about Muslims, but don't pretend to actually care about Muslims and about people that are being genocided, at the same time criticizing Israel, and then you want to ban all the Muslims from your country and kick out all the brown people. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel about the situation as well. Is that when you like it's a slippery slope. It's like we hate the Jews not because of what's happening in Palestine. We hate the Jews because they're bringing in people that aren't white. They're bringing in, so it's like they've made this alliance with each other. Neo Nazis and say like anti Zionists have made this alliance, but their end goal is two different things. The end goal for the anti Zionists is basically to give Palestine a homeland, to have some sovereignty, and to stop the genocide that's happening. The end goal for the Groypers and neo Nazis is basically to kick out all of the non whites, and Jews are in their way. So that's how it is. So, like, in some sense, you know, and that's the reason you don't really hear the Groypers and Nazis talk about what's happening in Sudan. You don't hear about the civil war, the longest lasting civil war in modern history in Myanmar. The only reason they have any concentration on Palestine right now is that it gives them a protected shield because, it's kind of messed up what's happening over there. So they can basically make their moral claims on hating Jews. I mean, they can make the claims of hating Jews more moral. And so that's the phenomena you're seeing there's people that hate Israel for very different reasons. Um, you know, feel free to you're going to say something, Dre. Feel free to unmute.
Oh, yeah. I don't. By the way, this is my first time using StreamYard, so I don't know. I don't know if you heard me or not. I was speaking. On mute. I was just saying you're right. You're absolutely right. It's like you're not telling any lies. So yeah, man. And there's people that's accused me of this. There's people that's accused me of just oh, you're just pro-Palestinian because you want to hate on Jews. You're blah 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 blah. I'm like, what, bro? Like that's just. I mean, it's important. It's unfortunate that all Jews collectively are receiving the brunt of this. But you have to really. That's why I come back to Zionism. Zionism itself is the cause of Jews being persecuted because of what Jews are doing, right? Ben Gavir, Yisrael Smotrich, and Benjamin Netanyahu, or Benzion Malachowski, right, the Polish guy. These are the top three Zionists in like ever, and they're the top three anti-Semites ever, because they just say, oh, everyone hates the Jews, but Israel is the home for the Jews. Like Israel doesn't give a gosh darn about Jews. Okay, if it's like Israel is not my bad, I hit the table. Israel is not the home of all Jews in the world, right? A Jewish man born in Brooklyn, New York, right, is not automatically of Israel. He's an American, right? A Jewish man born in Japan or Australia or Yemen or Venezuela, wherever a Jew may be out other than Israel, their nation is the nation that they are born in, not Israel, right? So Ben Gvir and Benjamin Netanyahu and Yisrael Smotrich pretending to be the champions of international Jewish identity is the Zionist lie, which kind of like, you know what, that's why people are caught up in this infinite loop of like arguing and trying to figure it out, because they don't they don't argue the Zionist lie and delegitimize it, because it doesn't make sense, right? A Jew in Yemen, a Jew in Australia, a Jew in Russia, and a Jew in Israel have nothing in common other than the fact that they share the same Torah, and they have 613 commandments that but given to them that they must follow. That's it. They have no culture, no ethnic like religious or similarity. They have no food that draws them together. They have no music that ties them together. The only thing that ties them together is their Torah. So how is it this land of Israel, which is founded in 1948 by Holocaust refugees, is somehow the home of all Jews worldwide that has ever existed? It's a lie. That's the Zionist discrepancy, right? And which is unfortunate for Jews who have nothing to do with Israel, right? And the simple fact is Israel does not represent Jews worldwide. And then now and then on the flip side, a Zionist argument will tell me to say, oh, D to the J, you don't care about Jews. You don't want Jews to have a homeland. You want us to be no, bro. You're like, you having a homeland should not be on the encroachment and colonization and taking of other people's lands and mass slaughter, right? That shouldn't be of you having your homeland. You can have a homeland anywhere in the world, right? You can, like, a Jew is safe in their own country, right? So someone has a hot mic. A Jew is safe in anywhere to practice their Jewishness, you know, in whatever country they're born, even if it is Israel, right? But Israel is the Israeli state. It is the Zionist state. It is not the state of the Jews. That is something that must be dissected and understood. It must be educated, even to the next generation of Jews who much rid their people of this Zionist ideology. It's not even an ideology anymore. In the late 1880s, right, with the Theodore Herzls, the Jabor Jabotinskis, it was an ideology then. But in 1948, it fundamentally became a living and breathing movement, you know, with a body, you know. So yeah, I don't want to go on too long, but it's, you know, it's a lot.
I mean, look, you've built up such a presence on X. I think that your big account has what, like 20K followers.
Yeah, my main account with 18,000 followers has actually been hacked, you know, by somebody in Manhattan, you know. So yeah,
It's because look, a lot of I've had conversations with you over the past couple of years, and it's like, I mean, there's just this dichotomy between people that hate Israel for very two different reasons. You know, Group A, the Groypers, the Nazis, they hate Israel because they're Jews, and you know, and then Group B hates Israel because of what they're doing, you know, in terms of a genocide. So, I mean, it's got to be hard as a black man to toe that line about, you know, because you get it from both sides, right? Like, I'm sure that the Zionists are calling you all kind of racial epithets, and then the Nazis are also calling you all kinds of racial epithets. So it's got to be hard to, you know, have that voice on X and to toe that line, because at the end of the day, it's like a lose-lose situation. But if you're on the right of, you know, if you're on the right side of history, then, you know, you are consistent. I've never really heard you say anything like super anti-Semitic. You know, you've always been consistent, and I bet a lot of people push you hard to just, you know, oh, there's something genetically wrong with the Jews. They're just like this. They're naturally evil. They need to be exterminated, right? Like, I'm sure you get pushed in that direction.
Hey guys, I don't mean to interrupt. I just want to say what's up.
What's up, Alan?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
Is my mic working?
yeah, you're coming through great. It's always good to have you on the space as usual.
Yeah, what's up, man?
So we're talking tonight about, you know, mainstream conservatism. It's pushing
Yes.
against the Groypers and people like Nick Fuentes. How do you feel about, you know, that topic in a broad sense? How do you feel about the Groypers,
You know
and how
what?
do you feel? Go ahead.
I have many an opinion on them. I'll try to make it quick. I'm not gonna ramble, but I was listening to your show for a minute. I got a second. I was like, yeah, I'll call on. I did an experiment the other day. I was like, how fast? Oh, my bad. I lost my voice over the weekend too, so if I get a little raspy, that's why. Um, I made a new email. I was like, I'm like a new YouTube account. You know, I mean, obviously it comes with it. I was like, I wonder how fast I can get from the World War II videos to like actual Nazi propaganda. like pipeline. You know what I'm saying? I was really interested. I was like, how fast does it take for me to look up like Hitler battle strategies to finding videos made by people actually thinking Hitler's cool, right? It took me about 30 minutes to find accounts, and then I started looking into like their Twitters and shit, and they're all like Groyper associated, or at the very least follow Nick Fuentes. And it was one of the most like ridiculous things that I've seen in so long. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I can't believe it. It's just how the algorithm works. But like, dude, they're fucking everywhere. Even where they're not, they're somewhere. Like the moment you get one of them on YouTube Shorts and you like it, like more will show. I mean, it's YouTube Shorts, obviously. I don't have TikTok or I don't use Twitter or Instagram or whatever. So like, I don't know how it is over there. But dude, anyway, I hate them. I fucking hate Nick Fuentes. I genuinely despise the man. I think that he fucked up a lot of like. I don't know. Let me put it like this. I'm 21 years old, and it's nice to meet the rest of you guys also. I grew up on like shit posts on on YouTube. You know what I mean? Like the iDubbbz and Filthy Franks of the world, and that conditioned me as a kid to be like, I'll be honest, to be racist and homophobic just internally. Just because like, oh, it's funny. It's just a joke. Oh, you guys just don't get it. It's called dark humor. You know what I mean? I was one of those annoying ass kids, and then I grew up. And it fucking sucks to see like a new generation being indoctrinated into the same shit, like just the same, like, oh, it's just a joke. What, you can't handle a joke, snowflake? When there's like for real
But
people
the
out there like
punchline is always
genuinely.
like, the punchline to those
That's what I'm
jokes
saying.
are just like they're black or they're
That's what I'm saying. So
they're
yeah, my
homosexual.
point is that there is no joke. Well, I'm convinced at this point. I don't care what Nick Fuentes fucking says on his streams. I don't know. I don't care how apologetic he is. I don't care how nice he was about Charlie Kirk's death. I think he genuinely just hates everybody. I think he's a genuine fucking racist,
That's a
Nazi
lazy
piece of shit.
observation.
What does that
Horribly
mean?
lazy observation, which means
Hello,
it's like
Dr. AK.
you can't tell the difference between somebody who's making an actual point that's true versus someone who's just making a joke. It's like you're not even trying.
No, they
Okay,
hide
hello,
their
Dr. AK.
they
Nice to
hide
meet you,
their
by the way. What does that
they
mean?
hide.
What do you mean it's a lazy I can't tell the difference.
Because
How
it's
would you
like you're
know what
not
I
even
was looking
trying to
at?
have any sort of rational thought into like trying to understand whether someone's just making a joke that has no basis in reality. And even if it is a joke that has basis in reality, some things are
Yeah, so
true
but
and some things
are you
aren't.
saying that
And
Nick Fuentes is joking?
when you're a scared person who's afraid to actually speak the truth or have your own opinion, you
Uh-huh.
tend to approach life in this way.
Are you saying that
No, but
about me?
that's a cheap
Wait,
Yes.
rhetorical.
no. Let me talk to Mr. Dr. AK real quick. Sorry, Davinsky. I'm very confused on why. Wait, you think I'm a scared person? I spend most of
Yeah,
my
you're
time
scared to
in
have your own
conservative
opinion. You're
spaces.
scared to see what the truth about reality is.
You know what? Someone
When
told me
people
that a
speak the
couple months
truth
ago.
on things,
What's the truth? The truth is that the Jews are running the world, and white people should be able to say the N-word. Like what?
it's
I mean, I
pretty
don't
easy
understand
to
what's so
understand when you look
beautiful
at
about that.
the richest corporations that own the media, that control the judicial systems, that lobby for
Control.
politicians, that
So
control
we're still doing
Hollywood,
this. Do you understand that this argument has been being used for the
that are
last like
lobbying for
60 fucking
censorship on
years?
the internet.
There's been nothing that has happened. It's the same shit that everyone was talking about fucking gay marriage back in the 80s. It's gonna, oh my God,
Yeah, and the
they're
same
gonna
thing with gay
fucking,
marriage.
they're gonna
Some
ruin
people are
everything.
trolling.
Oh,
Some things are sexually perverse. Some things are
oh, you're
wrong.
one of
Some
them.
things
Dr.
lead to
AK, wait,
one of what?
so you think that you being a contrarian to like most
It's
things
not
is that's the
contrarian.
truth?
It's the
It's
truth.
well,
Your
no, I
whole
mean it's allowed to
virtue
be
is
true
love
and
and
also a
acceptance, but
contrarian.
really it's just cowardice.
The global consensus on most of the issues that, and it's okay for you to have this opinion, but like
Global
the consent,
consensus. There's no such thing.
okay, is like the Earth being round, is that a global consensus? Might not be true, but is it a global consensus?
More or less, but that's
Are you like reading through,
there's no
like
general global
Japanese fucking,
consensus on things.
okay, I can give you like 50 more examples of everyone going, you know what? Shit, we were wrong. All right, time to put this in writing. It's been happening all over history. There's a chance you still are wrong. You're allowed to have your opinion, of course, and I'm allowed to have mine. It doesn't make me a stupid coward. What? Because I like, what? Because I don't like it? Do you think Nick
No,
Fuentes is like some fucking prophet?
the way you
I was
phrase your
one of
understanding
you.
of
I was a
reality.
right wing fucking. I grew up during 4chan. I don't know how old you are, but like I was like a 4chan fucking alt writer.
I'm 10 years older than you.
Were you on 4chan? You remember that shit. You remember fucking all that then. You had to have been. It's where this Groyper, it's where like half this
Look,
Groyper mentality even comes from in the first place, bro.
the
Pepe the
problem
Frog,
is
yours.
that
Which
the
one of you is
Groypers,
The thing about
which
Groypers
one
is
of
they
you is the
like to
21-year-old?
address uncomfortable, realities surrounding
Sure, then they should
certain
stop saying, "Oh,
topics.
but it's just a joke." Whenever they get called out,
No
I
one
don't.
yeah,
says
Which
it's a
one of
exactly.
you?
They
joke.
hide
Let's
their
be
No one is
actual
honest.
saying that.
opinions
Nobody
behind the
says
guise
it's
of
a joke.
comedy. That's what they do. They hide their actual opinions behind
Okay,
the
every single
guise of
okay, so
comedy.
what I do,
I
and
don't really
Davinsky
see that as
can,
a thing.
Davinsky, I've been on the show a couple times. I actually really like you. I've been taking it upon myself to experiment, because of so many people calling me a fucking leftist, fucking spineless coward. You don't want to look at the real facts. You're too afraid. So I did. I've
Yeah, you're
created an account
virtuous,
completely.
moralist.
I have created an account like, oh, that was the account I was talking about, that is entirely conservative based algorithm. Entirely at this point. There is not a single fucking wisp of liberalisms in that YouTube account. And I keep looking up numbers and I keep finding out that they're wrong. I keep calling into conservative talk shows. I've called into like a million of these panels at this point. I'm in contact with them through email. I show up like very regularly to hear what they have to say about things. Almost every single time, they're allowed to have this opinion. I don't give a fuck. This is the United States of America. You can say whatever the fuck you want. Every time I look a number up, it's either misinterpreted or just wrong. And then when I go back to them and I say, "Hey, I can't find the study you were talking about. Can you send me a link?" They'll just be like, "Well, I saw
Do
it."
you need a study to
Yeah,
understand
okay. Let me
Yeah,
that?
I
let me
do
jump.
need a
Hey,
study to
hold up,
understand why
everyone,
Nick
everyone, hold up,
Fuentes is.
hold up.
Yeah, what's
Look,
up?
No, for example.
hang on, Alaska, hang on, Alaska. So I
Sorry,
was
boys.
in a debate today, right? And it was about neo-Nazi leaving Nazism, basically. And there was a bunch of Nazis jump on the stage, and they say things a matter of fact. It's like, oh, you just hate science. So he came up and he said, if an Irishman has a child with a Nigerian woman, that Irish father will have more genetic similarities to a random Irishman on the street. And that's completely false. I mean, a parent to child,
Yeah,
you've got 50% shared DNA. Two random Irish people, it'd be 0.1% to 0.2% shared DNA on average, effectively zero. So the child is around 250 to 500 times more genetically related to their Irish father than they are to a random Irish person. So again, they'll say stuff like, "Oh, well,
I wonder
there's
if they would
different."
have said the same thing if instead of Nigerian they were like Russian. I wonder if
I
they would have
mean,
said the same point.
they brought
That's
up,
so cute to me. Like,
they brought up domestic
why?
dogs and how dogs are like, you got pit bulls that are bred for certain things. And it's like, they've got different characteristics, different behaviors. And then I brought up the fact that, well, actually, domesticated dogs are one species, right? And within domesticated dogs, you have 5 to 10 times the genetic variance as we do across the human population. So
Yeah,
equating humans to dogs, it's like they have the same talking points and they say them so matter of factly and they hide it behind a degree of pseudo intellectualism. They use these buzzwords, but then when you fact check them, it's actually completely false. They'll bring up the chimpanzee. It's like, well, even within subspecies, the eastern chimpanzee, they have 2 to 3 times the genetic distance as any. So you go to a hillside in the Congo, you take two eastern chimps, which are a subspecies of chimps. Those two chimps are 3 times more genetically distant than any random two humans on the planet. So they say these things matter of factly, and that's why I hate the term race realism. If anything, it's race unrealism. And this is what Nick Fuentes does: is he makes a bunch of bullet points. He does this rapid fire Gish Gallop technique, and before you're done debunking one point, he's already fired off 10 other points. And like, if you an analogy here
yes,
is if you throw
exactly.
shit at the
I
wall,
have something to
right?
say on that.
It takes a lot longer to clean up the shit than it does to throw it. And so for every point that they make, and they'll make 10 points in the same sentence, it takes 10 minutes to clear up one misconception or one error. And by the time you're done with that, they've fired off 100 more. And that's Nick Fuentes and the Groypers technique, is that they take these memes and they take them as fact, and it's just complete bullshit.
And that's what I was finding, Dr. AK. That was not my point is not that you're
No,
wrong
I
and I'm
say
smart. Meh, meh.
Groypers.
But I'm gonna
Groypers are
say,
their own thing because Groypers are a collective of people, just like any other group. It's like there's no one cohesive belief that any one group can really have unless it's really documented on what they're supposed to have. But in practice, it's different. What I'm saying is it's pretty easily understandable for certain things that people try to hide under the virtue of love and acceptance when really they're cowards, such as homosexuals being ineffective, weak people mentally and physically. There's
but like
something with some
what
homosexual mind virus
aside
that
from like
weakens people across the board.
your opinion and like personal anecdotes, like what supports that view that makes me such a coward for not supporting it? That's an opinion.
My
I'm
memory
not
is reserved
coward for
for
not
hand to
agreeing
hand
with you.
war, so I'm not going to remember everything you said, but listening to your initial,
I didn't even say
what you were
anything negative
saying
against you. You just
initially,
walked in immediately to fuck with me. I don't get it. You call me a
and you
coward? You
take it
call me
so
stupid
personally.
person?
It's about what you say. It's about what you said,
Okay, then
which is why I
what did I
responded.
say? What did I
Like I
say?
said, my memory is reserved for hand to hand war, not these pointless, meaningless
Oh, you're this
But
little
guy.
talks.
Oh fuck, I remember you. I've met you before. You're so, you know what? I don't even think there's a reason to argue with you. Every
Okay,
time it just comes right back around. Every single time it
let's
comes
open
back
it up.
right around. Holy
Let's open
shit.
it up.
See,
We'll
you
come
try
back
to
to.
discredit people by
Hang on, Doctor
radicalizing them,
Alaska. Doctor
No,
Alaska.
of
when
course
really
not.
I'm right.
I
You
love
can't say
arguing
Hold
with
I'm
up.
people. That's
wrong.
why I join these things.
Everyone,
I love
hold up,
arguing.
hold
I
up,
would
hold
love
up,
to
hold
You're
debate.
up.
Sorry.
21
Come
years
on,
old. You
let's
have
go.
no
Let's
life
go. Hang on,
experience, and you've
Alaska,
been
Alaska, Alaska,
indoctrinated.
Alaska. Let me speak. So we've got about 200 people across platforms. I appreciate
Hell
people for
yeah.
sharing to their own social medias. I've got 90 on my end. Jelani's got about 40. I'm sure Dr. Dre has quite a lot on his Facebook. So we've got a decent audience here.
my name's
I
not
do want
Dr.
to,
Dre, bro.
Dr.
It's not
Dre,
Dr.
D
Dre.
to the Dre. I'm going to call you Dr. Dre. I call everyone We got Dr. Alaska, we got Dr. Zelani,
Yeah, and
Dr.
it's nice to
Alan.
meet you boys, by the way.
Yeah, we got everybody's doctor here. Fuck it.
Yes,
Doctor.
sir. All right, Dr.
So
AK, I got one thing for you. I'm sorry, Levinsky. I'll stop picking on him after this
I do want
because
to
I mean
open up the
that's even the
panel
point.
to Dre and to
Oh, word. Yeah,
Jelani
yeah.
just for a moment.
Yeah,
Go
my
ahead.
brother.
Go ahead, Dre. You're unmuted. Then we'll go to Jelani.
I mean, I'm willing to let Jelani go. I mean, I don't really know what the back and forth was between these two brothers over here, but I think you can get back on track here. I'll let Jelani go.
Jelani, what are your thoughts? Have you got anything to add to this? Otherwise, we'll open it back up to Alaska and Alan.
Yeah, I mean, basically, they were going back and forth pretty much on like Groyper mentality and shit, and like kind of like I guess its origins and where it came from and things like that. I wanted to play a video, right quick of just a clip of what Ben Shapiro is saying about Nick Fuentes. So you can basically blame Israel for pretty much the entire Groyper movement. And the Groyper movement is nothing but just it's just other variations of different anti-Israel groups. I hesitate to say anti-Semitic because I do not believe the people who currently inhabit Israel are Semitic. They are, of European descent. But
That's some real shit you just spoke.
it's hey, that's neither here nor there right now. But it's been all types of anti-Israel groups throughout history, and so the Groypers are just another version of one of those groups. But especially now, and especially in the economic situation we're in, you can almost draw a straight line from Israel to the Groypers. And I would have to agree with them, and say that from that particular standpoint, they are exactly right when they talk about the control that this country has over our country and the influence that it has over our country, and the influence that it has pretty much over, a lot of our knowledge of what we know about the history of America. A lot of it is influenced and tempered based on Israel itself. So, and I just said all that to say that this really is an actual issue, and this is the actual result of so much influence, so much attention, so much energy put into Israel, and the way that we allow that particular nation to not register as a foreign, to have foreign pacts not registered as foreign pacts, to have so much influence on our politicians that they have to take trips there, they have to touch walls, they have to wear certain paraphernalia. It's wild. It's wild. But let me just play a clip of Ben here talking about Nick. Well, basically, this small video is going to be Ben Shapiro letting Nick, tell who he is in his own words. So it's basically just a bunch of clipped up excerpts of Nick Fuentes saying different things. So here we go. Hold on.
By Tucker Carlson decided that it was important not only to host Fuentes, but to smooth over his views, water them down, and make them far more palatable to a normal audience. As we'll discuss in a bit, this is what Tucker Carlson does for a living. But back to Nick Fuentes. To understand just what Tucker did here, we must actually examine what Nick Fuentes says on his show, and has said for almost a decade, because he was asked precisely 0 questions about any of what you're about to see by Tucker Carlson. Nick Fuentes says women want to be raped.
A lot of women want to be raped. And when I say raped, I mean like, that sounds bad when I say it like that. But there's like a lot of women that really want a guy to beat the shit out of them. But also they have to pretend, but part of it is they have to pretend like they don't.
Nick Fuentes says that his followers should kill, rape, and die in his name.
Raise your right hand. All right, everybody raise your right hand. Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I will kill, rape, and die for Nicholas J. Fuentes.
Nick Fuentes says that women are whores who shouldn't be in politics.
I will continue my crusade against women in politics. It's always like this, and it's so ironic. Women are like, I don't like, when you say, I like it, you have to affect the face. When you say to repeal the 19th Amendment, that offends me. That hurts my feelings. It's like, have you ever stopped and considered that maybe if you get offended, there's such a strong emotional reaction to political opinions you disagree with across the board? Maybe that's one of the reasons why you shouldn't be making political decisions. I'm not attacking women. I'm attacking whores. You have no problems, right? I'm attacking whores. I'm attacking sluts, stupid, dirty bitches.
Nick Fuentes says that Jim Crow was actually better for black people.
It was better for them too, number one, but number two, who cares? Who cares? Enough with the Jim Crow stuff. Who cares? Oh, to drink out of a different water fountain. Big fucking deal. Oh no, they had to go to a different school. Their water fountain in that famous picture was worse. Who cares? Grow up, drink out of the fucking water fountain. It's water, it's the same. Even if it was bad, who cares? Who cares? It's better. It's better in general. We all agree it was better for them. It's better for us. Better in general.
Nick Fuentes says that white people are justified in being racist.
Reason that we talk about this, by the way, I know a lot of black people see this and they go, man, why are you always talking about black people, this and that? Because there just needs to be some shame here. Well, there's a few reasons. First, white people are every single bit justified in being racist. Every single bit justified, to the extent that that means going out of your way to avoid black people when you see them.
Nick Fuentes is a Hitler admirer and a Holocaust denier.
Buddy, it's Führer Friday. It is Hitler Friday. Shut up. It is Heil Hitler Friday, nigga. Heil Hitler, all my niggas Nazis.
Hitler was a pedophile and kind of a pagan. It's like, well, he was also really fucking cool. So, time to grow up. We're not children anymore. Am I right? Am I right? Am I right, boys? Am I right? Let's go. He was also really fucking cool. It doesn't really sound correct to me. Wait a second. It takes 1 hour to cook a batch of cookies, and you have 15 ovens, probably in 4 different kitchens, right? Doing 24 hours a day, every day for 5 years. How long would it take you to make 6 million? I don't know. It certainly wouldn't be 5 years, right? The math doesn't seem to add up there. The math doesn't quite seem to add up there. I don't think you'd result in 6 million, maybe 200 to 300,000 cookies. And I think the Red Cookie Association said something like that, probably 200 to 300,000 cookies baked, probably. And in addition, in this hypothetical, I imagine that if you took aerial photographs over the kitchens, you would need to see certain smokestacks to release the smoke from baking the cookies, and the smokestacks would project certain shadows, but I guess they're not visible in the aerial photographs taken over the kitchens. Moreover, if you look at the soil texture.
So yeah, that's That's pretty much it. Yeah,
Thank you,
you know,
Jelani.
Hey yo, Ben Shapiro's the Ben,
That Shapiro
yeah.
kind of cooked. Jesus
Ben. I'm not
Christ.
gonna lie, Ben Shapiro cooked them, bro.
All right,
It's
Dr.
all
AK,
Hard.
out.
I got
I
a
can't
question
lie,
for
Ben
you.
Shapiro just cooked Nick
It's an
Fuentes, bro. I can't
all-out
lie.
war.
And
Just
Hey,
some
Davinsky,
housekeeping.
Davinsky, hold on, hold on.
Hold up, hold up, hold up.
That D2 nigga, you know who you look like? You know that memes the dude that say, "Ha, Gotti." Have you
Real,
seen
real
his
quick.
shit?
That's
Real
crazy.
quick.
All right,
That's
guys.
crazy.
But
Just
you're
some
beautiful, bro.
housekeeping. Just some housekeeping. We got 105 people on my end. I'm sure Dre's up probably like 30, 40 people. Jelani's up about the same. We've got over 200
I
people.
probably got more than that.
All
Oh,
right,
that's
we're
Dr.
up
Oh
Dre.
there. We
yeah.
probably got
That's what I like
300
to hear.
people on this live stream. If you want to jump on up, if you are a Groyper, I'm going to put the invite link there because I think like it's a very hard ideology to defend. And you know, my biggest problem with Nick Fuentes, and I've said this before, I made a video about it actually. The DEI, the diversity, equity, and inclusion of white supremacy. So why is it that the most pivotal voices in white supremacy right now are from non-whites? Nick Fuentes is Amerindian. He's a mestizo, right? Gypsy Crusaders, obviously a
Do I gotta
gypsy. The
drop down
handsome,
and come back, or are they or is this muted?
huh?
No, what happened? You hear
Hang on,
you?
let me finish. Let me finish.
Yeah, I gotta drop down and come back.
Okay, you don't have to say that. All right, so you got the handsome truth. He's a mute your mic if you're not speaking. Mute your mic. Let's keep it professional. So let me restart. There's the DEI of white supremacy, diversity, equity, inclusion. So you've got Nick Fuentes, he's a Mexican. You've got Handsome Truth, he's a Mexican. The Gypsy Crusader, they're a Mexican, right? And so what this is doing is it is taking these people that aren't even white and it's making white people look bad. So when you have the Handsome Truth and the Gypsy Crusader go on Omegle or the Monkey app and call little black children the N word, all that does is it sows hatred against white people. And then when they're actually questioned on it, Nick Fuentes, you know, when he kicked down that Jewish woman down a flight of stairs and pepper sprayed her in the face and stole her phone, the police officer asked, "Are you a white supremacist?" He says, "I'm not white. I'm a Mexican. My last name's Fuentes." And so this is my problem is that you've got these people that are projecting their insecurities of their own collective ethnic group onto especially black people and Jewish people. So, you know, Nick Fuentes will talk about criminality of blacks, yet 8 out of the top 10 cities in the world are in Mexico. If you look at the per capita homicide rates, most of those are mestizo countries in Central America, Honduras, Mexico, El Salvador. You know, these kinds of countries, Guatemala. So why is he going to point his finger at black Americans and act like they're especially criminal in order to obfuscate from his own personal responsibility and his own collective shortcomings? It's the same with the Gypsy Crusader. If you look at the Roma Gypsy in Europe, they're the least educated per capita. They're the most incarcerated per capita. They're the most welfare dependent per capita. Yet he'll spend hours on day bullying black people about their lack of achievements in America when black Americans have achieved a lot in America when it comes down to it. You can look at HBCUs, you can look at 50,000 patents from the FBAs. So there's just this undeserved hatred that these off-white, these white adjacent groups put onto black Americans. And that's kind of, I'd say that's my biggest gripe with the Groypers and people that are, non-whites
Yeah.
lumping as Nazis is that they're making us look bad when their collective groups are objectively worse on a societal metric. And not only
You
that,
mind
it's
if
their
I jump
hang
in?
on, it's their personal
Sorry.
accountability. So look at the Gypsy Crusader. This guy's a career criminal. Since 2005, there's police records of dealing heroin, cocaine, manufacturing, and trafficking of heavy drugs in the northeast of America. He has a criminal rap sheet dating back to 2005. Look at Nick Fuentes. He pepper sprayed, he assaulted a Jewish woman, kicked her down a flight of stairs. He was at January 6th, the insurrection of the Capitol. He's on a megaphone screaming, "Ignore the police, knock down the barricades, we're taking over the Capitol." And so why isn't he in prison? And this is my problem is that you've got the lowest kind of denominator obfuscating from their own personal shortcomings and their own ethnic collective shortcomings onto black Americans as if they are especially bad. And I see this time and time again. So if anyone wants to jump in, go ahead.
Okay, I got a thing to say on that because I mean that's really well said. Mr. Davinsky, thank you. Excuse me. Fuck, dude, my got a bit of a frog in my throat. So like, I mean, I'm still young. I wish that is that Alaska, Dr. AK?
He'll come back. He'll come back.
Yeah, all right, well, shit. I guess I don't need to necessarily talk to him specifically, but I want to hear his thought on this because I mean, what is his view on this? Why did he push back like the moment I said something? Is he like Groypered up?
I'd say he's Groyper adjacent. He's been kind
All
of
right, fair
towing
enough.
the line of Groyperism. I've kind of pushed him in a different direction. He seems to
Good.
be fairly open. Like he seems to be a bit more. He's less dogmatic than the average person. So I think that I can save him.
That's fair. I don't know. So I just wanted to say because I mean I'm still young. I'm not gonna say that I'm like young. I still have opinions and shit. I'm a history major in college, by the way. I'm a fourth year. So like when it comes to shit of that nature, I'm not gonna say I'm perfect at everything, but I feel like I know what I'm talking about when it comes to that. And I wrote a paper about the aesthetics of fascism and how easily it can just something can turn way out of hand. And one of the biggest things is to have this air of pseudo joking, like pseudo, like, oh, we're just saying shit. Oh, he's back. So, like, okay, when I look at Nick Fuentes' young audience, right, that is mostly made up of the me's of the world when I was 13, 14, and seeing how, like, the path that I went down so easily, just based on internet bullshit, the fucking things that I was seeing on my phone, I'm happy that I was able to kind of get out of my comfort zone, start meeting these people, start, interacting with these communities and realizing, like, shit, maybe it isn't, maybe white people aren't the best thing ever and these guys aren't, great. And I had the opportunity to do that. And my issue with this concept of, oh, and I mean, you literally said it, Dr. AK, you're young, you don't know what you're talking about. The concept of that is completely null and void when a good amount of the audience that these thoughts are being perpetrated like on are also young. In fact, younger than me. I think that it's important that we don't have to make this distinction between world experience and how much words mean to people. You know what I'm saying? And I think that it's fucking insane that. So, okay, Mr. Alaska, I just have to ask you because why do you think that I'm stupid and a coward? You heard all those things that on the Ben Shapiro clip. Like, why do you think that me being like, hey, maybe we shouldn't let this guy have any power? Like, when I push against him, why does that make me a coward?
What you said initially, like I said, but getting to the Nick thing, what's one thing that you think stands out about that clip?
One thing that stands out,
Yeah,
just in general,
one thing.
one thing that stands out is
Because
that's
Ben Shapiro played a bunch of clips, and my whole thing with this Ben Shapiro thing is just trying to scare people from almost associating whatsoever with Nick Fuentes, because if they do, then that just means that they're pretty much under the same blanket that he tries to paint Nick Fuentes under. So,
okay.
like,
So I
what's
mean,
one
if I
thing?
listen to Madonna, if Madonna's my
No,
like,
what's one thing from the clip?
what's one thing from the clip? I think that his thoughts and his like consistent wording against women is bad for young men. I think it's
No,
bad
it's
for
not.
teenage youth. You think it's not good? You think it's good for teenage youth to hear their like streamer heroes say that women want to be raped and beaten? You think that's a good ideology to put in a
Women
14-year-old's head?
typically do have a dominance and rape fantasy, and you put it more accurately by saying they have to pretend like they don't. It's a large part of it.
So it's impossible to have a rational conversation with you because everything you say, everything I'll say, you just
There we
say,
go.
well, actually they do. They actually do though. Can you find me
They
seriously
do.
one bit of empirical evidence that says that women have rape
You don't need
fantasies more on
empirical
average?
evidence. Like you could
You don't
understand
need
that just
evidence
simply
to
through life experience.
to explain that 4 billion people all think the same thing. You don't need any evidence.
Can
What the
we
fuck are
can
you
we
talking
can
about?
we like I don't want to. I know y'all
What
two
is the
brothers.
topic?
I
I'm
don't want to
sorry that
like.
we keep going off.
And I'm
What are
sure
we
if you
supposed
wanted
to be
to
talking
find
about?
some
For
sort
the sake
of
of the audience,
empirical,
you know what I mean?
My bad, Dre. What'd you say?
I mean, for the sake of the audience, can we not go down this road?
That's fair. All right. Well, I guess
I
my
mean,
my thought is
how
that
we should, because I mean, you just played a clip. We should acknowledge what
Okay.
they talked
All right.
about in the
All right.
clip.
Okay. But as far as I'm talking, that's cool. We can talk about everything in the clip. As
I'm
far as
not trying to make this about me or
like
all
Ali,
right. Well,
other
then,
than
yeah. And my bad on that. I'm just
what
an
we have to
argumentative
say about
person.
the
On
topic.
the clip, I think that if you want to say that shit, fine. Fuck it. That's fine. But I think that if you want to brush it off as like, well, they're not all like that. Why are you trying to bundle them in? I think that's just a naive worldview. That's it. That's my point. I think it's incredibly naive for anybody to say that. I think it's naive for Nick Fuentes
And
to assume that people aren't taking that shit seriously.
I would like to
People
jump
are
in.
taking that shit seriously.
I would like to jump in there, right?
Yeah, what's
So
up, Joe?
Ben Shapiro, first off, is a Jew. All right. through and through, 100%.
Yeah.
Okay. He's gonna do what?
Zionist said that.
Yes, he's a Zionist Jew, 100%. It's the like, gosh, what a combination. Not only he's a Jew, but he's also a Zionist. All right. So the things that he's gonna do, the things that he's gonna, meticulously put together with his crafty merchant hands, like Jews are good at doing, Zionist Jews in particular, right? This clip that he just presented to us, he probably spent 72 hours of his own genuine time. Genuine, is his time genuine? I'm not sure. But he spent plenty of his time going through probably 10 years of the worst little tidbits he could find of Nick Fuentes saying this and that and piecing it up together right on the post of Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes having this extravagant blockbuster interview, which is doing more numbers than literally box office hits, gosh darn it. And then, now he's coming in all with all of this. It should be expected. Now, that doesn't discount the things those clips that were said in those clips, but I'm pretty sure you could go back and watch those entire live streams and get the full context of what he was saying. And I'm not trying to defend it in any way. There's a lot of stuff. I know there's a lot of stuff that Nick says is outrageous. There's also a lot of stuff that I would agree with. And those things, those clips that Ben Shapiro.
Your sound's not very good, Dre.
Your mic is kind of muffled.
Oh, come on, relax.
Sorry, brother.
Let's be honest here. He's an American. I mean, there's a lot of shit I don't agree with. But as far as
we can't hear you.
Try to
adjust
your
We
mic.
can hear.
Hello?
Yeah, no, you good.
It's a little better.
It's not great.
Okay.
But we can
My
hear you.
apologies. My apologies. How's it sound now? So
Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad. Oh, he's
Hello?
back. Yes, sir. What's up?
Yeah, that's better.
okay.
That's better.
What I'm saying is you can't expect Ben Shapiro to be an honest guy, to try to present you with honesty. Whatever his agenda or his objective was for putting those clips together like that. I understand. I've heard those clips before. You know what I'm saying? But that's obviously like I'm saying, like, that's not who Nick Fuentes is, though. You know what I'm saying? So like, but
you don't think? Wait, have you ever watched a Nick Fuentes stream?
I have, yeah.
Have you ever watched like his the Groypers like clip channels? Because that's the same shit that they like post on their own.
It is
I
what he
have
said
had the
with missing
opportunity,
context.
unfortunately, to listen to a lot of Groypers. And
Yeah, me too. Like I was
a lot of
saying,
them are fucking dumb, racist, and stupid. Yeah, I mean,
they post that shit as like to be funny though. I mean, Ben's just bringing it up. It doesn't even mean anything.
I understand that, bro. Like, but like I'm saying, like
I feel it. All right.
And when I first heard of the Groyper movement, I thought it sounded gay as fuck. What the fuck is a Groyper? But like, but Nick Fuentes is like I'm saying, like he's, people are gonna like, he's how many millions of people have just now heard of him thanks to Tucker Carlson. People are gonna go and dig out all the shit in the archives, all the history, all the past streams. They're gonna pull up the worst of the worst.
But
things.
Dre, you don't have to go that deep. You can listen to one
Okay.
stream and pull up clips like that. Like that's the thing is like Nick will say something like, "We're all created in God's image," and then like 10, so he'll say that and people will clip that as look how wholesome he is. But yet then he'll say, like even explicitly or implicitly, right? He'll say stuff.
I'm not trying to defend him in any way. I'm just saying.
Look,
is a Zionist Jew.
My point is though is that he'll make all of these claims like blacks are 13% of the population. They commit half of the crime, right?
Yeah.
But there's no what's the prescription there, right?
And that shit ain't even real, bro.
Is it removing the black population? Is the genocide in the black population? Like what is the prescription there? Because he is a biological determinist. He thinks that they're just prone to this criminality. So what is the prescription? So, like, he can pander and he can, like, try to save face. But at the end of the day, like, if it was up to Nick Fuentes, if Nick Fuentes was the fucking dictator of America, what do you think he would do with you, Dre? What do you think he would do with Jelani?
Probably send my ass to Haiti.
Exactly. And that's the prescription. That's the implied prescription.
I'm not here defending him in any way. I'm not here defending him in any way, bro. I'm
That
just
clip
saying,
is like throwing a bunch of shit at the wall, like you said, and it's like it's harder to clean it up.
But you don't.
And address
No.
each of those points.
Like those are that's the theme of his conversation. Though. His
like,
theme,
for
All
example,
right, Dr. AK. Wait, Dr. AK. Dr. AK.
Rhetoric. The themes of his
I'm trying to
rhetoric
make.
are like anti-woman, anti-homosexual, anti-black.
I got
most people do champion
Listen, bro,
segregation.
The point that I'm trying to make.
Most people
Black
support
people-
segregation.
Yes, black people.
Based
they
on what?
constantly-
This is my
How
issue.
about you let me take-
No, let me-
speak.
can I talk for just a second?
Let Dre finish his point. One more minute on Dre, and then we'll get to
The
Alaska,
point
and then
that
we'll
I'm
go to
trying
Alan.
to make is
All right.
that Ben Shapiro is a Zionist Jew. He's a liar. He is a manipulator. He is a
He has an
deceiver.
agenda.
right?
Yeah, and I
you're
have
the
something to say
last
on that.
person that you should listen to criticize anybody. And that as the saying goes, like Jovis Goebbels said, he said, if a Jew, whoever a Jew like honors and whoever like the Jew applauds and gives applaud to and praises to, that person cannot be trusted. Whoever the Jew criticizes and attacks is probably an honorable man. That's what I want to make clear. Okay.
Okay, Dre, can I say something on
How
that
about
real
you wait
quick?
your turn, Alan? Because it's mine after
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I
One
did say
moment.
Dr.
Is it his
Can I
Alaska.
turn?
just jump in real quick?
Let's
Hey,
just
good night, everybody.
let Alaska go, then you can go, Alan.
All right, I just have one thing. I guess there's multiple things. Alaska, please.
Alaska, unmute. I'll give you a couple minutes, and then we'll go to Alan. Take as long as you want, because I do want to hear from Alan. I think me and Alan are more aligned, but I do want to hear Groyper voices. So if you are
No,
listening,
me too. Yeah.
we got over 200 listeners. We do have a new guest that joined the panel. We'll go to you after Alan, Demi. Thanks for joining. Go ahead, Alaska.
So what I was saying earlier is most people do champion segregation in a sense. White people want their own spaces. Black people constantly talk about supporting black business and having their own spaces. You look at Asians, they have Chinatown for a reason. So it's not some big controversial thing when people want to approach topics honestly and actually look at what's going on. And that's just what I wanted to say about the Jim Crow thing. A lot of those things, those clips, didn't have the full context, and you don't necessarily need them. Hold on.
I think he went on mute. Alaska, you coming back? Otherwise, we'll go to Alan.
Yeah, I'm just
Oh,
at work.
All right.
All right, so should we go to Alan? We'll come back to you, Alaska,
Another,
or
I'm almost, well, one other thing is, when he's saying these clips that he's not 100% serious, I mean, listen to the tone of his voice. Like the one where he's saying, I want everyone to raise their hand and pledge allegiance. You could tell he was more or less being joking. Yeah, like he
Yeah,
wasn't
he
really
is.
serious about that. So he's having a compilation of clips, like Dre said, to basically paint Nick Fuentes in the worst light and to like fearmonger people into even associating with him whatsoever. So a lot of those things aren't wrong with women having rape fantasies. They do. People just don't want to approach uncomfortable realities or just things that sound bad. Women do. And people do champion segregation in a sense. And then the other clip, like I just said, was pretty much bad faith. Just, you know, taking one thing that actually is a joke and trying to say that's what he's all about. And then the other ones I just stopped listening to because it's like I'd rather people bring up what they think is just so wrong about what he was saying. Because other than that, I just started taking notes about every single thing, and I didn't think it'd be that type of clip. So that's why I
like,
wanted to ask. It's like, what did people disagree with? What did he say that was
I mean,
wrong?
everything,
All right, let
everything.
me. All right, all right. Let me. I have a direct.
I mean, obviously,
I
most
have a
people
direct thing
agree with
against
the
that.
majority of what he said. Obviously,
Um, can I have a second? I don't mean to interrupt anybody.
Yeah, go ahead, Alan.
All right, word. So first of all, Dre, I was listening to what you had to say earlier, and I agree with a lot of it. But why are you instantly? Were you being serious about the whoever a Jew agrees with should not be trusted, whoever a Jew is going against is more trustworthy? Is that a serious
I
opinion
mean,
that you would hold?
listen, it's an exact quote by Joseph Goebbels. Whoever a Jew like praises,
Right.
like and honors, that person cannot be trusted.
Okay,
Whoever
I didn't hear that you said
attacks
the
and
person because I know
criticizes
who
is
said that.
probably an honorable man.
So do you agree with that?
I
Is that
mean,
what you were
to an
trying to
extent,
say?
yes,
You agree? Do you know who Joseph Goebbels is?
I do.
Are you aware of all the other shit that he said in tandem with that? Because it doesn't seem like
Bro,
that
I
was
don't
coming from a good
obviously
faith.
wouldn't agree with everything he said, but with that exact
I don't
quote,
agree
I would
with pretty
agree with
much anything that he says.
I mean, no, I wouldn't agree with everything he said.
I would not recommend. I'm just saying. I didn't know if you didn't say when you said the quote. I didn't know if you knew who actually said that.
Bro, I'm just quoting somebody. Well, I could quote you, Ben Ahim, the sixth prime minister of Israel. I could quote you him, but that doesn't mean
Yeah.
I agree with his quotes.
I mean, okay, word.
I can quote you people I agree with. I can quote you people I disagree with.
No, but Dre, I'm just saying. You were explaining that you don't consider yourself anti-Semitic, and you're more so anti-Zionist
No,
and anti-Israel, which I am. I do agree with you on that. But if you're willing, why would you ever want to use a Joseph Goebbels quote when there's like a million other people that have actually spoke against Zionism specifically?
All right,
Use
bro.
their quotes. How can you do it? Come on now.
It's a quote. I think it's a very insightful quote, right?
All right, so if I were to just scream the N-word for 4 minutes straight, and then in the middle of it say, God bless all of us, we're all such beautiful people.
Are you
No,
Jewish?
No.
All right,
Can
so
I
why are
answer
you so
that real quick?
offended with me saying that?
No, but I'm just
compared to you saying the N-word.
No, I'm just saying, like, if I were to just spit hateful shit about black people, and then in the middle of it say something like,
about Jewish people.
No, I'm just okay. I guess it's kind
you
of.
Want me to? I can, but that's not what I'm here to do.
No. I'm not even trying to be argumentative.
I'm trying to be professional here. I got this live streaming to my Facebook. I got a picture. I got.
I'm not gonna say anything
from different people y'all would say who are bad people. I got the quotes on my Facebook too.
No, but my point is that
people in history who people may have disliked or considered a villain, sometimes they have some insight.
Okay, so. And I agree with you, but my point is that as I was saying earlier, I just wrote a book on the aesthetics of fascism and how easy it is to convince a lonely, downtrodden person that actually they're the best in the world very easily. It's incredibly easy to convince someone that has no ideology that they're the one that's right and everyone else is wrong. You know what I'm saying? And so in the beginnings of Nazi Germany, they were elected, right? And they just said things like, oh, the Jews are running too many businesses. Oh, okay, look at war reparations. Look who's benefiting off it, blah, blah, blah. They're noticing. We're making observations. We're just making observations, guys. Nothing really is happening. And then the moment that they had complete power, they already conditioned young people specifically into thinking that what they were saying was not actually like, oh, my God, it's not controversial at all to say that. What, do we not have freedom of speech anymore? And then the moment that they had the power to actually do evil and do bad things and commit a genocide, the people that were already kind of with them immediately felt empowered into it because now they're in the in-group. You know what I'm saying? So the thing that I have, first of all, I understand that you're just using a quote, but this actually goes into my whole point against the Groyper movement in general.
I appreciate you kind of pointing that out.
You get what I'm saying though, right?
You're trying to at least make me and that's respectful. I respect that.
Yeah, no, I respect you too, brother. I like hearing what you have to say.
You want me to be consistent, and Dr. Davinsky knows me as someone that's consistent.
Yeah, word. And it's good to meet you. I appreciate that we can have this conversation. But this actually goes against my whole point that I was going to bring up. What Alaska said of what's the point? He's just joking. So the point is that when I went on this journey of trying to become a conservative and see what all the hubbub's around, because everyone keeps calling me a pussy and an idiot and blah 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 blah. Maybe I really was one. Going down this road, all those clips and clips of a similar nature that Ben Shapiro was using, and yes, I don't like Ben either. He definitely was just trying to slander him and taking these clips out of context. These are the same clips that are being reposted by his fans. Being reposted to be funny or for other people to watch. Ben Shapiro is not taking these things out of context, because you saying that he's taking them out of context automatically assumes that what he was saying around it was actually, it had nothing to do with it. And he's taking it out of context to be malicious. Why would his own fans take that out of context? Right? Why, if his young fans are hearing that shit and going, oh, this shit's so funny, haha. What's the point? What's the argument against Ben Shapiro also using it to paint him and his fans for believing these things? And secondly, I think that it's just, even going back to what I was saying to you, Jay, the concept of the in-group, right? America has been a very in-group centric country. Whether you think that's a good or a bad thing, I couldn't even give a fuck, but it is just true. We like having power. One group likes having power, and they like suppressing other people. It's just how this country has worked. I don't care what you blame it on, but it's just how it is. And there's a lot of people that are trying to go against that. And there's the last 150 some years, people have started to realize that it's not the most consistent business model, quote unquote. You know what I'm saying? I think that it's a little disheartening to see the in-groupness of the Groyper movement and them. Oh, but they're not really neo-Nazis. They don't really align with them, but they still want to feel superior in the exact same ways that a neo-Nazi would. And I think that, Nick Fuentes is a pawn in the machine. Nick Fuentes is not going to be remembered after his death. Nick Fuentes is a fucking joke to a lot of people. You're correct. And anyone who says that is 100% correct. But the messages and the ideologies, no matter if he's joking or not, I don't think it's good for the health of anybody. Because if a young kid hears that, right, it's a young white kid, virgin, doesn't have a girlfriend, doesn't have many friends in general, all white school, just rural as shit, doesn't really get much experience with anybody outside of his small circle, right? He's been a part of the in-group his entire life, right? The in-group is white rural people. If he hears things of that nature, that empowers him to feel like all white people are on his side, and that he belongs to this large amorphous group that, oh, well, maybe the black people, maybe they do have a genetic thing for crime, right? If they hear that and they have no
Should be a
way
time
to,
limit on how much you get to talk. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, I wanted
Not
to.
saying anything.
Yeah,
all right,
yeah,
well,
yeah.
I have one question for him. Then I'll get off the tangent. I'll get off the tangent. I have one question for AK, and then I'm gonna have to go. I might join later, but I've never really gotten a chance to speak to one of his fans before. So you're saying that he took those clips out of context. What context would you need for it not to be a malicious smear against Nick Fuentes? Like, do you need more? Like, what more context? Because I think that saying those things, regardless of if it's a joke or not, I don't think he should be saying it to kids. And he knows that most of his audience is kids. So what more context could you need? Genuinely.
I think that's to you, Alaska.
It was to Alaska. He might not be here.
Alaska, you there?
Ah. All right, well, fair
Okay.
enough. And I didn't come here to just argue. Sorry, boys.
Yeah,
Okay, he's
what's going
back.
on?
He's back. So the
Okay.
question was directed at you.
Did you hear
What
what I
was the
said?
last thing? He's saying a lot, but I didn't hear the last thing. It probably was only 10 seconds. What was it?
Oh no, I was just saying like what context. Like Ben Shapiro is saying, yeah, he said these things and I don't like it. He said those things and I'm not a huge fan of it either. I don't like Ben Shapiro either. But what more context would you need for Ben's point to be moot? Like if Nick Fuentes was to go debate Ben Shapiro on that clip, what would Nick Fuentes have to say? What would Nick Fuentes do to explain that those clips are out of context?
You expect me to know the answer to that? Only Nick Fuentes knows.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
so
just
if
funny. The only thing I have to say really
were
was
doing
your
a
whole
debate,
blanket
if you
3-minute
were doing a
monologue
debate,
is, how about
if
you
you were
shut up and
doing
let
a
me
debate,
respond?
you didn't ask
The
a
only thing I
question.
really got to say about your whole little 3-minute monologue is it's funny how you say anyone that says Nick Fuentes is this or that would be factually true. But then you want to address what
I
I
don't
have
think
to
that.
say and you
I
just
didn't
want to
say
label
that.
it,
I don't
oh,
think
you
that.
can have your opinion. You want to label certain things opinions and certain things facts. You just
Do you
talk a
think
lot
that
but you
black
say
people
nothing.
committing 50% of the
And you're
crimes of this
overly
country is a
concerned
fact?
about how people view you and what you think and all this other stuff. You talk about the idea and the topic. No one really cares about you in general.
Brother, I'm a man using a fake name and a fake email
All
on a
right, look,
fucking
let me
live
hop in
stream.
real quick,
What would
man.
I even
Y'all two got
matter?
Just talk about an idea.
y'all got like a bromance going on or something, but
I would kiss him if I saw him in real life right now.
yeah,
All
I
right,
think y'all
let's
got a bromance or something going on. But
All right,
listen,
I'll be back. You boys have fun. I'll be back. Thank you for having me on, Davinsky. If I can
no
end up coming
worries,
back.
Alan. Anytime,
Hey,
anytime.
It's nice meeting you boys, by the way. Dre and Jelani, I don't think I've seen you
likewise.
before, so have a good one, boys.
Follow me on
Peace.
that.
See ya. Come back.
Yeah. All right, cool.
We're all in that group chat together, right? Okay, yeah.
Alan's from YouTube. He's not on Twitter at all. But let's open it
Dude
up.
said nothing.
I mean, Dre,
I would like to jump in.
Jump in, and then we're gonna go to Demi.
Okay, so hold on.
I gotta drop down. Come.
Oh, my back. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yeah.
My apologies.
Yeah.
Phone going on low battery here. I've been extremely engaged in this conversation. We're about an hour and 13 minutes into the show. Thank you, Dr. Davinsky, for bringing me on. So,
and everyone that's following, we've got our handles at the bottom. So just follow the speakers that you enjoy. Tune back. Me and Jelani, we're trying to do this show every night. Trying to build up an audience. Jelani's on Twitch. So we can help each other grow. Because I feel like this. X really promotes this. Right now, I got 150 just on X and on YouTube. Jelani's probably got 50 across his platforms. Dre's probably got similar numbers. So we're talking to 400 people right now. So feel free to jump on up. Hope you can join again in the future, Dre.
Yeah. If y'all do this every day at the same time, I'm more than willing.
We're gonna do it at 7 p.m. EST time every day.
All right, let's do it. So yeah, what I want to say was, man. Excuse me. I don't want to be here making it seem like I'm defending Nick Fuentes or saying, what this and that. Like obviously there's a shitload of shit that he says I be against and disagree with wholeheartedly. And then, there's other things that he said, I wouldn't necessarily be against or have issues with. Now, as far as the Ben Shapiro thing, that I don't think every single Nick Fuentes stream and broadcast is talking about those things that Ben Shapiro pointed out specifically. There's a diverse variety of things, endless things that's discussed, from Nick Fuentes, just him himself. Now, as far as his fans and his Groyper movements, man, listen, if those people are focused on those type of stuff to recycle and regurgitate as whether they're not taken out of the context or whether they're not taking it as a joke, I think is absolutely filth and shows the level and depravity within the rest of our society and certain groups. But there's always going to be a right winger, right? People like Nick Fuentes is not new. There's always going to be another Nick Fuentes. It's going to be another form, another type, right? It's just right now it's 2025. Everything is so people so people wear their heart on their sleeves. You got Karens. Everybody's, criticizing everything you do. But not only that, we're in a times where it's trending to be anti-Israel. It's trendy to criticize the Jews. It's trendy to, to be race first or ethnos centrist. Right? These things are becoming popular. Whether they were at one point in time or but maybe it's just his history repeating itself. I'm only 30 years old, so But for the last 2 years, never in my life have I witnessed the amount of death and destruction that Israel has been carrying out on an innocent population. That's one. And another thing, but at the same time, I've never seen so much, Jewish victimization pushed upon me in my society through the media, round the clock, 24/7. So it's it's not little old, Auntie Sally. It's not Auntie Sally's fault that she's watching World War II documentaries and reading books by former, SS officers, saying, "Man, maybe the Nazis were onto something." That's not Aunt Sally's fault. Okay, if Israel wasn't committing a Holocaust in Palestine right now and using Western European and American governments and politicians to enable them their land grab and their expansion, bro, people would be going on about their regular lives. Nobody would not many people would give a fuck. There wouldn't be protests. There wouldn't be, all this shit happening. But every other month we're hearing about Holocaust remembrance. Oh, remember the Jews. Never again. Every other month we're hearing about this. But every single day, every hour, we're seeing Jews in Israel slaughter. But they're the number one victim. So you have to kind of understand why there's this mass I don't know, bro. I don't want to feel like I'm going on. You know what I'm saying, bro? The reason that even average middle schoolers, people who are at middle school, high school,
just
can I jump in and can I respond to what you've been saying so far, Brody?
Say it again.
Hey, what's up, guys?
All right, let's give Demi a couple minutes. Thanks for waiting so patiently. Demi, go ahead, my man.
Yeah, I don't want to go on.
How about we set a timer because people be going off way too long.
We should, in the future, try to keep it under 2 minutes. Demi, you can speak a little bit longer because you've been waiting so patiently. Go ahead, guys.
Sure, no problem. First, I want to say thank you for Dr. Davinsky for holding this, session. I think conversations like this are important, especially in times like this when the world is going crazy. But to address what Dre is saying directly, let's not blame the Jews. That's like a straight path to anti-Semitism. Israel has done a lot of deplorable things, and it is kind of sketchy that they have so much relationships with a whole bunch of different nations, just to serve their own interests. What you're seeing is not you're not imagining it. It's actually happening. But I think the real problem is money. Historically, Jews have had to rely on money because, they didn't have a land for themselves. So that's why they're so intricately related to that concept. And we live in a capitalist society, so it is what it is. Why we're seeing so much Nazism now is because the economy is in the toilet. COVID really hit us. The Biden administration, they really pushed the effects of the recession down the line, but it's finally catching up to us. And when there's economic turmoil, people look for things to blame. Easiest choice are the Jews most often. And then white people get upset, they're not doing better than the black man, they feel insecure about it. So that's why we have, what we're going through right now. The problem is how to get through it without a lot of bloodshed, because it can get really ugly. And joking about this stuff, it's, as to what the kid was saying earlier, it really normalizes it. So first it's a laugh, then it's a serious conversation, then it's an action plan. So we're at the last stage now. Well, no, we're at the serious talks now with this administration. So we gotta like get the shit in order before we get to the action plan. That's pretty much what I wanted to say, though.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, like, racial humor has a element of dehumanization, so you can laugh about it and you can hide your hatred behind the guise of comedy. But at the end of the day, there's still a prescription there. It's like, well, this group of people is bad for innate characteristics that they can't control. And, look, I am a Western cultural supremacist. I do think that Western culture is the best. I try not to bully people on innate characteristics like their race or their sex or their disabilities. There's certain cultural practices that should be mocked and should be ridiculed because they are barbaric. And I think we need to differentiate between that, because oftentimes when I criticize cultural practices, you're like, oh, well, you can't do that. That's cultural. That's bigoted. But at the end of the day, there's tons of cultural practices that are barbaric and should be called out. But I don't like biological determinism. I don't think that because someone looks a certain way, they must act a certain way. And that's where we get into the kind of the territory of genocide. It's like, oh, well, black people commit, 50% of the homicides, they're 13% of the population. What's the prescription there? Do we kill them? Do we deport them? It's like, oh, well, what's the driving forces of that? Is it poverty? Like, what's behind that? Instead of taking that nuanced point of view about the, environmental factors, then it's just like, well, these people are innately just criminal. Like, they're a problematic group. And I think that's the prescription that a lot of the Groypers and Nazis want to push, is that, like, these people can't be changed. And if you look at homicide rates throughout history in America, at one point in time in New York City, Irish people were 3 times the rate of the homicide rate as the general population, and black people were below that of the general population. So it's not just like an innate characteristic that's unique to certain racial groups or ethnic groups. It's the environmental conditions that drive this forward. The war on drugs, stereotyping, these kinds of things. Stereotyping is wrong. I think we can make generalizations. So, like, people misconstrue this. They say stuff like, well, you shouldn't generalize. Well, I think that you can generalize. A general statement is that most people have 10 fingers, right? A stereotype would be all people have 10 fingers. Obviously, there's people with 11 fingers and 12 fingers. So we can make general observations about a group, but we shouldn't stereotype as if all of those members of that group have some propensity or some, like, innate thing that makes them that certain way when it comes to behavior or, criminality. And that's what you see with the Groypers. Jolani, you've been awfully quiet. I know that you're kind of, you want to speak?
Well, yeah, sure. I was just kind of letting the conversation, go where it was pretty much going. But yeah, I pretty much have the same sentiment, especially when it comes to their characterizations, of the Black Americans. But it really just feeds into the punch down propaganda that most people, even including Black Americans, are propagated with. Just growing up here in America. They look at one side of statistics and they develop, preconceived notions. Well, I wouldn't even say preconceived notions. I would just say they develop conceived notions based off of the presentation of the statistic that's being given to them. Because everything is, presentation, everything is interpretation. And when something is presented to you in a certain way and framed a certain way, then more than likely the average person will have no choice but to come to that conclusion, especially if it's framed by someone who's very good at framing things. And that's exactly what we have with the Groypers. Is this particular framing is something that they have made a point of substance for them. I would even say a fuel. That particular propaganda emboldens them. Seems as if it gives them, more. I'd probably say vitriol, and all of it is just based in, not only stereotypes but misapplied statistics or misrepresent or presented statistics. And of course, just plain old, stereotypes and just blatant propaganda. But beyond that, what they're doing, as I said earlier, with the conservative movement, from a strategic and tactical standpoint, like
Speak simply, Sergey.
very impressed, very impressed with what they're doing from that particular standpoint. Um, the way it seems like that they're going to siege the Republican Party, they're going to pull a coup. Like it's very inspiring because it's something that I have championed for Black Americans to do a long time. Is to have that same type of fight and that same type of how would I say it that same type of camaraderie, I guess, and having a single goal to take to our politicians and to force their hands on, but we too much or we a lot with Black Americans, we tend to fight for others' causes more than we fight for our own. So it's real how would I say
I mean, that's true. I saw a data point today, and
yeah.
it was talking about, do you agree with the like illegal immigrants getting deported? Black Americans were 10 times more against illegal immigrants getting deported than Hispanics were. So in some sense, like, black people's empathy has been shooting themselves in the foot, because look, when it comes to civil rights movements, this is what's given these other minority groups like rights in America. And when these people get rights, they tend to shit on FBAs the hardest. It's a real, like, kind of oxymoronic point of view.
So,
Like, yeah,
Devinsky, I have a question about that. Earlier, you said that you think that Western culture is better, but isn't that
yes.
kind of inherent in Western culture to exploit and
No,
dominate
because
others for?
other people can exhibit or co-opt Western culture. So when I say Western culture, I'm talking about social liberalism. I'm talking about, standards that we have.
No, but
So
I'm saying that in order for Western culture to exist with social liberalism and the sort, it depends on outside colonialism. Like, even though America had its liberties inside, it did not expect those liberties from its vassal states after it inherited the British Empire. So it's democracy at home, iron fist imperialism abroad, and that is how Western society can maintain its virtues. It has to
I,
exhibit those vices.
look, I agree to some extent that, like, when I'm talking about Western culture and the norms that we project outwards, that's coming through NGOs. So my ex used to work for an NGO in Myanmar, and they were based on gender-based violence.
Mm.
So there are certain look. Obviously, when it comes to imperialism and the exploitation of the global South, I wouldn't really put that into Western culture. I'd say that that's a political kind of um, a political disease in a sense. And I don't know if that's unique to Western culture either, because, like, the natural progression of humans is a tribe turns into a town turns into a city turns into an empire, and an empire expands outwards, right? So
Mhm.
I think that's just unique to being human. And obviously, Europeans have been the best at that over the past 400 years. But when I'm talking about Western culture, I'm talking about the norms of how the average person kind of internally how they respect other people. So if you look at gender equality indexes, when you look at racial equality indexes, when you look at environmental indices, all of these different metrics that you want to like kind of look at the tolerance of a nation, look at the
Mm.
top 20 under any of those metrics, and they're all majority white countries.
I know, but that is achieved by exporting devices. That's the only way it's achieved. I'm saying that I believe that a society can exist without the exploitative drive. Like, I'm upset that we have not seen communism given a chance to, like, actually proceed without interference from already established Western forces. Like we haven't seen that. And like the
Oh,
closest thing
really?
we've seen to it is China. Like they had a bit of capitalism in there, but I don't think that they're exploiting, other nations to that extent.
Look, when it comes to the Belt and Road Initiative, I think that China is somewhat exploitative. You can look at a lot of the
No, no, no.
deals they
Well,
make.
uh,
A lot of the deals
what's
they
the
make
difference
with the
between
global South.
exploitation and mutually beneficial?
Mm, I think you could make that both ways, though. Like when it comes to loans from the World Bank, right? Like there's more oversight there. There's more like in terms for a Western company to go into say like Africa or Central Asia or these undeveloped regions. There's some there seems to be more oversight. Whereas when China goes into a country, they bring over their foreign workforce. They don't train the locals. The infrastructure crumbles because they don't have maintenance. Like when a Western company goes to certain countries, they have to train the locals. They have to teach them how to maintain the infrastructure. I think that China has been a net
Yeah.
positive.
Uh, yes, China has been a net positive, but like even the way how you
What
phrased
is the
that a little
topic?
while
Is this
ago,
just
it
like a
has.
free flowing conversation, or are we talking about Groypers? Like, what the
Oh,
fuck is the topic?
I apologize. I
I
brought it
mean,
off
it can be
topic.
free flowing. Like we don't have to stick to the
Well,
Groypers.
in a
Oh
sense, it
no.
does because don't Groypers advocate for the superiority of Western culture, and like we're just questioning that claim that they hold as an objective truth, which all of us seem to hold as an objective truth at this point. I just don't think it's been properly tested. Like I've been looking at Africa a lot recently, having all of these racist debates. And one thing I can say about them, even though that they're not as developed as the West, they still have all of their languages, almost over 3,000. They still have all of their little tribes and their ethnic groups. We don't have that in Europe anymore. When Western empires expand, they try to homogenize, what's the word? Homogenize the group.
Homogenized.
Like everybody is just
Yeah, but
one
okay,
thing.
okay, okay.
Homogenized.
Let's pause there for a second, right? So look at the Arab world. What
Hmm.
language do they speak in North Africa?
Arabic.
Okay,
Variations of Arabic.
what language do they speak in the Levant, like Lebanon, Jordan? Like what language?
Arabic again.
Okay, so like when cultures expand outwards, they do force their local language onto a mass population. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that if you speak English, that's a degree of privilege. Like you being an English speaker, I'm guessing you're from the Caribbean, what, Jamaica?
Yeah, yeah. Remember, I
So
was in.
you're in an advantage, right? Let's say that you spoke, I don't know, some niche ethnic language that no one else spoke outside of your Caribbean island. You have a privilege speaking English, right? I'm Irish and
True.
Hungarian, I'm Australian. There's a privilege to speak in English. So why is that a bad thing?
No, no, no. I think that's a great thing. But I'm saying we did not destroy the other groups in order to still survive. Like
Where are the
that.
Tainos in Jamaica? Where are the Tainos?
The Tainos,
Where are the
they got.
Tainos in the Haiti, Davinsky?
No, no, no. The
Haitian,
Tainos
bro.
got mostly genocided by the
Yeah.
Spaniards. The little bit that were left, they intermixed with the slaves that they brought over from Africa. So there's
Yeah, but
still a little
that's my
tiny
point
blood
is
in the
that
world.
that's just history though. Why do you want to cling on to a local language that no one else speaks? Like you're putting yourself at a
Oh,
disadvantage.
hold on,
I think
Davinsky.
that's the beauty of the world, though. The
Yeah, yeah.
differences
Hold
that each of us have. I think they can all coexist at the same time without one necessarily suppressing the others.
on.
China still has their ethnic groups and they still have their other little languages that they speak as well. And they were able to advance and they have a
There's
common
been a
tongue that they share.
Hanification of China though. China has 50 distinct ethnic groups. Most of those people have been brought into the Han identity. So this isn't unique to like white Western imperialism or expansion. This is unique to just expansion in and
Well,
of itself. You
well,
can look at the
Davinsky.
Arab world.
Davinsky.
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed the last part of what you said. Gotta plug in my phone real quick.
Yeah, hey, Davinsky. I think what he was trying to say is, like, Moist, like bringing it back to the Groyper conversation. I mean, Groypers like are like, what type of Western white ideals isn't that Groypers want to push upon everyone else, and their quest to like rid of Jewish control, right? Like, is it going to be the same Western colonialism from the past, or is it going to be something that's all inclusive, as this gentleman was just speaking there?
I think they
I think
want
they
a
want to go to war
cohesive.
again.
I think it's that
Look, the
cohesive.
difference that I'll say this. The difference that I make is that I don't think that people's innate characteristics, whether that's their phenotype or their sex or their disability, constrains them to act in a certain way. So I do think that Western culture, by and large, is best. What else would be a better culture to rule the world and dominate? Would it be like Islamic? Would it be Han Chinese? Like, I still think that Western culture has the best global dominance out of any kind of imperial,
What
cultural
about the
kind of.
preservation of indigenous peoples?
Like, what do you mean by preservation? Should they be able to
Like
exist? Should they be?
the opposite,
It's
like
their
not
job to
the opposite
preserve
of,
their own
I mean
culture.
the
It's no one
preservation of
else's
by not
job.
Yeah,
by
I
not
would agree with
annihilating
Alaska
them, by
there.
preserving their existence. Whether you're like with Western imperialism or Western culture and expansionism,
Look,
right? The
I
point.
just think that it's about utility, right? So, like, Thailand has numerous ethnic groups. You got the Hmong people. You've got people down in the south of Thailand that are like darker skin. They don't really look, quintessentially Thai. They're Muslim, but Thailand had a Thaification of those because if you look at the Thai ethnic group, they come from one specific region in central Thailand. And so in the 90s, they banned local languages. Everything was in Thai. So these people became Thai through ethnogenesis. So look, these people still exist in a genetic sense. They still have some of their cultural traditions, but by and large, the Thai identity now it's been kind of inundated by the Thai ethnic group, which is a distinct ethnic group that has expanded outwards and given other people their identity. It's the same thing in China. China has 50 ethnic groups or so, and they did a Hanification, and they've tried to do that in Xinjiang province with the Muslims there, the Turkic people there. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing as long as you aren't killing them.
Okay,
Mm.
so
But
that's one.
you
That's
know
one.
that West Africans kind of did that when they had to communicate with the Portuguese, right? That's how the Creole languages were developed. Like, it's not a full
Can we
ethnogenesis in
keep
a
this
sense,
like
but
more of
it's like
like
a
a
little fusion.
Western centric fucking conversation? I don't want to talk about fucking Africa or fucking the Caribbean islands. Can we talk about something that's practical to the majority of the panel instead of this fucking dude,
Oh, okay.
please?
I mean, we were kind of bringing the pros full circle.
We're gonna go and bring it back, but all right.
But yeah,
America is
No,
not the only
it's
place in
not
the
that much
world.
time
I
to
think the
talk
whole
about.
thing with the Groypers and the Groypers movement and Nick Fuentes specifically is he's saying a lot of the truths that a lot of people find uncomfortable and they agree with it. They're posting it for content. You can't imply people's intentions. That's subjective. But the content is the content, and the content is a lot of what people agree with. They want to say it. A lot of people are afraid to say it. They still got cartoon profile pictures posting this stuff. It's just, it's uncomfortable truths. Regardless, it's true. A lot of the things, hardly any of it is a belief. That part's subjective.
Give me an example of one of the claims that you think
Just
is
bring it
true.
back to a conversation that just
Yeah,
makes
yeah, no,
sense
no,
for
we're going to talk
majority of
about
people
that.
instead of
Give me an
talking about
example of one of the things that a Groyper
whatever the
claim that
fuck.
is true. Like, women have rape fantasies, yes, but not all women have it. And if you
Yeah,
go
drop
around
down
thinking
now
that
that this
women
guy
have
dropped
rape
down.
fantasies and you interact with
Can't
them
hear
in
what
that
this
way, you're
guy's
going to get
saying.
yourself in trouble. I'm talking about the Groypers thing. Did he leave?
He's going to come back. He had a mic issue. Can you hear me?
Oh, I'm
Can you hear
sorry?
me? Can you hear
Yeah, go
me?
ahead.
So which country are you from, Demi? Are you Jamaican?
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I
I
live in the
mean,
States, though.
okay, you're in the States. So
Yeah.
internally, right, we can look at the civilization from America, from Australia, from New Zealand, from the UK, and the internal culture of a country, regardless of their kind of expansionist policies with NATO. We can look at ethnic tolerance index, we can look at religious tolerance index, we can look at gender equality index. we are the most tolerant people on earth. And if you look to compare that to the Arab world, or you can compare that to the
Way too
Chinese world, the
tolerant, and
Han
that's what the
world.
Groypers are trying to point out.
Hang on, Alaska. Hang on. So, which group of people would you rather rule the world? Because there's going to be a group of people that rise to the top. And right now, my argument is that the West is the best.
I don't think anyone is going to rule the world anymore. I think we're going to go into a dual paradigm. Yeah, I think China is going to go back onto gold standard, and then the dollar is going to weaken. But I don't think that there's going to be one country that controls everything anymore. We're too connected at this point.
China's just rising to the top, though.
Oh,
So, like,
yeah.
let's
Is
say
this gonna
that
be a
there's a
conversation between you and Demi, or are we just gonna have like a topic to where everyone can kind of weigh in on? Because
just let me
I'm
finish
ever
this
sorry,
since
point.
this fucking
DK,
dude
but I
with
had a
this heavy
question for you,
ass
DK.
accents come in, it's just derailed the entire panel.
Oh,
Look, let me just finish this point, Alaska, and you can jump in. Is that when we talk about a multipolar world, right? We're talking about the West and China, right? All of these other peripheral nations in the global South, they're not really included. You know, when we're talking about a multipolar world, we're talking about the West and China. We're not talking about the West and China and Jamaica and Somalia. You see what I'm saying? Like, China's still going to be at the top. It's just going to be two superpowers.
yeah.
All right,
But
Alaska, jump in. Go ahead. And just real quick before you jump in, we got about 300 live listeners. I appreciate everyone for joining the panel tonight. If you want to jump on up, go to the description of this video. You'll see the StreamYards link. Come on up, join the panel. Go ahead, Alaska.
So the topic's still about Groypers, and I think Dre joined back in. The topic about Groypers. Groypers is a movement behind Nick Fuentes, and what Nick Fuentes does is just speak uncomfortable truths that no one else is comfortable talking about. And what he does is he connects a lot of these points and comes to these. I wouldn't say he has like a specific like goal other than just speaking the fucking truth and then like individually saying what he thinks people should do about it. It's all about just speaking the truth, because nowadays we live in this crazy world where people want to just be able to say anything is true. It's just your belief, it's your truth, and it's just not true at all. That's not effective at all. Like there's nothing really that Nick Fuentes says that's objectively wrong. It's like 2% of everything he says at best, at worst. It's like, what do people disagree with in terms of what the following of Nick Fuentes, which is all the Groypers really are? What do people disagree with?
Well, I'm pretty sure they
Okay.
disagree. I'm
Well,
pretty sure they disagree
no, go ahead,
with,
bro.
you know. Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, I'm pretty sure they disagree with, for the most part. Well, from what we can tell, most people, of course, disagree with his sentiments on race. That's what most of his dissent comes from. The rest of his dissent comes from people who support Israel. And then beyond that, it would just probably, probably be women.
Well, there's a worldwide thing about people acknowledging the truths about what Israel and these Zionists are doing. And then they just
Well, that's
label
true.
it as radical by
Well, yeah, I
labeling
mean,
it anti-Semitism.
yeah,
But when it
yeah,
comes
that's true. I
to
mean, that's not to say
race,
that
what
he's not.
specifically?
Yeah, like that's not to say he's not, right about, about Israel and its influence. But when you ask the question about what people, have an issue or take issue with him on, then those are just things that they take issue with him on, whether he be, correct about them or not. You can go ahead and
It's like
tell
what things
us.
about what things about race do people disagree with what Nick Fuentes says?
I
Well,
disagree that like people are inherently going to act a certain way. I'm against biological determinism. You can look throughout history,
Ah,
right?
fucking yeah, I gotta every time someone leaves, can't hear anything.
Alaska, can you hear me? Alaska. Okay, I think he screwed up. Look, my problem is with Nick Fuentes is that he has this biological determinism, and if you look throughout history, it's the environments that cause, certain stats. So during Prohibition era, during the 1900s, 1800s in the USA, Irish people were vastly disproportionately involved in criminality. And when it comes to homicide rates, we had double the homicide rates of New York City in the 1900s, 1800s. We were a marginalized group, and black people were actually lower than the norm, lower than the New York average. Irish people were double than that. So when we look at groups of people and we look at their social stats at the time of being, it's largely derived from environmental pressures rather than some biological genes that are encoded for criminality. And I think that's what Nick Fuentes pushes. Afro, welcome to the stage. Go ahead, my man.
Oh, thank
Yeah,
you,
every
thank you.
time
What's up,
someone
brother?
leaves, everything
How's
goes
everyone
mute.
doing?
So I gotta drop down and join back up. I didn't even hear the
No worries,
majority of that.
Alaska. We're going to Afro right now. Go ahead,
But what
Afro.
does he say? What does he say about ethno groups, like specifically that people disagree
Well,
with?
I'll
Like, I
tell you.
mean,
I'll tell you.
because he usually brings up stats. There's usually some sort of context to where it's like you can't really prove it
He
wrong.
doesn't. He doesn't bring up the correct context, if at all. He doesn't bring up stats, if at all. He just says shit,
Like
and
what? Like what?
he
Like
might
what?
sprinkle like okay, he might sprinkle a little bit of truth into some of his statements, but a lot of it is exaggerated and a lot of it is incorrect. But people will still listen to him, and which is what makes him dangerous, because he does have a large following, and he's very charismatic and he's entertaining, which is why you can say like two wrongs, but 100 wrongs, and people will still flock to your streams, etc. Now, I don't agree with Nick about everything, but the one thing when it
People got
comes
to
to like,
start bringing up specifics, like Ben Shapiro tried to bring up in those
I
clips.
can bring up specific, that's fine, but if you'll let me, like one for one, I don't agree with him about everything. What he said about women having rape fantasies, that's correct. I
You don't
actually
have to
did a
agree;
little.
it's true.
Dude, can you like stop interrupting me, please?
Yeah, my
Is
bad.
that all right? Thank you. Um, So I don't agree with him on everything, but when he did talk about the whole woman having rape fantasies things, he's correct about that. 62% of women have a rape fantasy, and 40% have it at least once a month, and 20% have it at least once a week. That comes from the University of North Texas and the University of Notre Dame. But that's just one example, right? But when you say things like, "Oh, black people commit, 15%, 50% of the crime, being 30% of the population," like that's just incorrect. These are things that are easily researchable, and we live in an information age where you can fact check these things, but people are lazy and people just believe whatever they hear at first glance. It's actually black people that make up the most exonerations. Being exonerated for crimes that they didn't commit. And no, it's not. It's not recidivism. It's not, oh, this black person did this and he served his sentence and then he got out and did it again. No, that's not what an exoneration is. An exoneration is the process, and there's an investigation. There's an appeal that needs to be made for your case, and it goes to the appellate court, and then it is determined whether or not you did or didn't do what you did.
That could be the case,
So
but if a sub-Saharan African has just raped and killed a couple a couple a couple victims and then he gets exonerated, doesn't mean the statistic's very true.
No,
But that's
brother.
not
If
what
he
well,
got
Kind of
exoneration
no,
exonerated,
discredits
that
means.
it.
means that he's not a
no,
person who raped and killed a person. That's what it means.
that's such a false equivalency. That wouldn't be the case. Again, being
There's
arrested
got
for
to be
something
some
is
sort
one
of
thing.
political motivation when judges are just exonerating people
No, no.
that are clearly
Exonerated
guilty.
means that
So
you're
it's
not
like,
guilty for that crime. That's what it means.
Yeah, I
yeah,
literally
so
made the
they
distinction.
get
So
let off. They're
I
exonerated. What
literally
do you
just
mean?
listen.
No, that means I know
You didn't hear
you
what I
do
said.
it. Them get the wrong person. Them have to try the case again. You're innocent. So when them
Yeah,
say black people commit 30% of the population, but commit 50% of the crime, if we get 63% of exoneration, that means we
Evinsky,
are
you
being
got to stop
targeted
letting
for
up
the
these
crime.
people with these fucking
yeah.
accents. It's just
Like, and it's
annoying.
crazy. It's crazy
We don't
because
need them.
at these very what this fallacious lie stems from is the 2019 FBI crime statistics report, and at the top of the page it says in fine print total arrests, right? These are arrests, but not everyone that's arrested for something is convicted of said thing. You know, there's these thing called wrongful arrests. So they glance over that and they look at that as, oh, black people make up the most arrests, so that must mean they do the most shit. No, that's just not the case. You know, you have to look at the U.S. Sentencing Commission.
Can
You
I
have to
jump
look
in
at the.
real quick? Let me jump in
Yeah, go
real
ahead.
quick. So I made a
Yeah.
post. The 1350 mean collectivizes the entire black population instead of black criminals. A more honest framing would be looking at what percentage of black people are arrested for homicide on an annual basis. That is a fairly simple calculation. So there's 6,000 homicides divided by 48 million black Americans. That means 1 in 7,500 black Americans will commit homicide on any given year. So that's 0.0125% of the black people are responsible for 50% of homicides. So what you're doing there is the composition fallacy. So you're trying to extrapolate, a very small segment, less than a fraction of a percent of black Americans as 13% of the population. That's not true. Like, the people that do commit crimes, they should be locked up. They should be, like there should be a harsh punishment. But to collectivize the race as being inherently criminal when it's a fraction of a percent that are doing those crimes, that's disingenuous. And that's what Nick Fuentes does. He's like, oh, well, 1350, it's 13% of the population that are responsible for 15%, 50% of these homicides. Well, no, actually, it's 0. A
It's not
fraction
about
of a percent.
homicides. It's about violent crime. And if the
Violent
statistics
Even if
say
crime
you
it
take
is
is, then
even
it
if you take
homicide.
is.
violent crime as a similar statistic, it's a fraction of a percent.
See, Nick Fuentes advocates for xenophobia, and the person with the accent is correct. But because you were xenophobic, you didn't
No,
want to hear.
you just gotta go.
This is why we should censor it.
Oh
Look,
shit.
And another thing
like,
Nick says he likes to shit on sub-Saharan Africa. It was actually interesting. I came across this the other day. This Italian explorer, Giuseppe Ferlini, he actually demolished like over 40 pyramids with dynamite at Meroe, Sudan, modern day Sudan, ancient Kush kingdom, ancient Nubia, in the 1830s to hunt treasure. And he discovered jewelry in Queen Ameshiketo's tomb, and he struggled to sell it back to Europeans because the European scholars didn't believe that such advanced craftsmanship and local gold working could come from sub-Saharan Africa. So it's like, again, this is public record. These are things that you can look up. But Nick, with his following, he'll shill to his followers, oh, sub-Saharan Africa and nothing's there, no history, no writing, no nothing, and it's just disingenuous, and that's what makes him dangerous.
look,
Well, in
out of
comparison to
out
Western
of
civilization, they've done nothing. I mean, let's be honest. Why are we just championing for a bunch of fucking people who don't deserve it?
They
look
did
when it
nothing.
comes
They
to
built.
They've done
look.
nothing.
Hold up.
They're doing
So
nothing.
when it comes to iron metallurgy, right? Sub-Saharan Africans are the only group. There's two groups that have done that.
So where'd that take
Mesopotamia.
them? Where's that
Hang
taking
on.
them now?
So they skipped the Stone Age, they skipped the Bronze Age, went straight to the Iron Age. You could look up the Kingdom of Benin. This kingdom lasted 1,000 years. It was a completely indigenous Black African civilization. They had the largest earthworks in human history. You can look up the Great Walls of Benin. When European explorers went to the Kingdom of Benin in the 1600s, they said this paralleled Paris, Lisbon, and London at the time. So look, the Bantu expansion out of Africa was an advanced civilization. They had Iron Age technology. The Native Americans never had that. Nick's people
Look
never
at
had
Great
that.
Zimbabwe. Like it was this
Oh my
crazy ass
God.
civilization,
Go
and they
somewhere
claim that
else.
white people built it in the middle at the bottom of Africa. Like, brother, we were doing things.
Go somewhere else. What does Epic have to say about what Nick Fuentes says about race? Anybody but Demi.
What's wrong with Demi? You don't like that sweet
No,
Jamaican accent, my brother?
who get like fuck that. We have a panel of English speaking people who don't have to. You don't have
Let
to
me
really
let me
focus
speak
on what they're
let me
saying
speak
to
English
Bro,
understand.
first.
I'm an attorney
Are you
what we have
in
capping
this
that?
Florida.
Jamaican.
My
Yo,
I don't
land,
care
my
what you are.
English is
Fix
fuck
your
out of here,
accent.
excellent.
boy. I used to have an
Don't
accent.
listen to him, Demi. I fuck with
Everyone
your
has an
accent, bro.
accent.
Don't listen
You
Yeah,
to
gotta
him.
bro. Hold
go.
on. When I came to this country from Haiti, I had an accent, and I speak English better than motherfucking probably everybody in here.
Exactly. Credit to you.
You know what I'm saying? So like, he speaks perfectly fine though. Just because he has an accent doesn't mean you should freaking push him out the
It's
conversation. I think.
extremely heavy and distracting, and it's
All
get
right,
the
all
fuck
right,
out of
man.
here,
You
please.
just got to get used to it, Ak. You just got to be around enough
He's
people to
not
make
being
it.
obnoxious. He's not being disrespectful. He's engaging in intellectual dialogue with us.
Well, I
Like
mean, when he came in here, him and Davinsky had this back and forth that was just pointless. Like, no one knew what the fuck. Like, it had nothing to do with the conversation.
if
And
it's
I had to listen to
Davinsky's the
this
host,
accent, and I'm personally just sick of it. Is all I'm
well,
saying. Like, I just
Davinsky's
want
the
to hear
host,
from anyone
man.
other than Demi,
Davinsky's the
please.
host.
I know.
So if Davinsky had a problem with it, I'd he would let know. But
Davinsky, stop letting him up in the future, please.
Look, I can understand, Alaska. You kind of carry on a little bit. So
Can we just get on to a
okay,
topic
let me
other than
ask
what
you
the
this, because
fuck this dude is talking
you
about?
keep reversing the conversation, Alaska. What about race do you agree with Nick
I
Fuentes?
think people. I mean, I don't even have to rely on statistics because a lot of when you look at there seems to be some sort of motivation to paint white people as worse than what they are. They want to save Hispanic people from any sort of, or immigrants from any sort of negative connotation. So when you look at that and you look at black people or immigrants being completely let off for things that they've clearly done in like specific cases more recently, then you can't really trust them statistics surrounding black people being less violent, immigrants being less violent, white people being more violent. You can't trust those statistics.
No one says that though. No one says that. That's a
I
straw
think
man.
I don't know. I don't know. Then I don't know what we're talking about.
The
I don't go
point.
off these statistics. It's just like I can
Do you
kind of
think? Okay,
believe 13%
let's look
of
at
the
this.
population is committing
so
50% of
let
the
me answer
violent
the
crimes.
question.
But is
There's
that
understanded
universal?
and
Is that
accepted.
hang on,
Ask me the
Is that
question.
universal to blackness? Because if you look at the homicide rates in Ghana, in numerous sub-Saharan African countries, their intentional homicide rate is significantly below
Yeah,
that
but
of
how
the
do you
global
believe that?
average.
When you look at the
In
countries,
the
you look at the
in
violence.
the UK, the homicide rates for Black Africans in the UK is about 4 per 100,000.
The UK
In the
is one of
USA,
the
it's
most
hang on,
corrupt.
shut up, hang on. So in the UK, the Black African homicide rate is 4 per 100,000. In the USA, it's 20 per 100,000. These are the same race of people, yet the homicide rates are drastically different. Russia, which is a white Christian
I think
country
that's
for
what
the
I was
most
just
part,
talking about, though.
has
It's like you
significantly
can't.
higher homicide rates than that of the Black British.
That's what I was just talking about. That you can't believe these recent homicide statistics because they're trying to water it down.
How
When you
water it
look at
down?
No,
when you look at
Like if you're gonna
specific
make a
individual
claim,
cases.
like if you're gonna make a claim
So
like
so
that,
do you really
you
think
have to
white
back it
people?
up.
You
Like
think white people are committing the majority of the homicides when all you see is senseless violence in these countries coming
they
from
are,
the
no,
they
I'm
people
are,
from the
saying, but
they
people
this
we're
are.
isn't
talking about?
this
Who's
isn't
committing the
universal.
fucking homicides
This is
then?
hang on. This isn't universal to blackness. This is environmental pressures that are compounding these.
Socioeconomics.
Yeah, no, like why do you say that in brackets? Socioeconomics is a factor. When you account
It
for
may be
Yeah.
a factor, but
socioeconomic
it's
vari
but it doesn't it doesn't it's not an
hang on.
excuse.
When you look at socioeconomic variables and you equate for those, black and homicide rates are around the same. You can chat GPT that.
I don't like I said, I don't believe in these modern statistics trying to paint immigrants, black people, and Hispanics as less violent
So
than
you
what
so you
people
just
can.
believe in words from your beloved Nick Fuentes. You don't believe in stats. You don't believe in pattern recognition.
No, Nick
Um,
Fuentes kind of says pretty much more of what I'm saying, just just more factual. Like Nick Fuentes does the
Nick
research, I don't.
Fuentes comes from the most violent ethnic group, the Mestizos. What are the most violent countries on earth? Where are they from? Guatemala, Honduras, Mexico, El Salvador. Those are Mestizos people. Those are Nick Fuenteses down there. So why does he always talk about
I
black
don't see Nick
homicide
Fuentes
rates?
killing
He
people.
comes from the most violent, in an objective sense, he comes from the most violent ethnic group on the planet, the Mestizos.
There's a
You
reason he's
understand
gaining
that?
traction. It's because he's speaking truth that is uncomfortable to people,
Why
no,
and
doesn't
people
he talk
believe
about the
it
he's
Mestizo
because it's
crime
gaining
problem?
believable, and he frames it in a
he's
way.
gaining he's
That makes
gaining traction
sense.
because he says one truth and a million other lies, and he's entertaining and
Like
charismatic and
what
funny.
though?
And he's not a monolith. He's not special. Okay, he just knows how to. Again, he knows how to talk in front of a camera. He knows how to present himself to an audience. And again, like I said, he'll sprinkle a little bit of truth in there, but a lot of it is just incorrect, and people will run with it. You know,
No, it's
it's
not
not really.
incorrect. It's
It's
what
not
people know
hard to
is
be
true.
famous. It's not hard
It's
to
not.
blow up.
It's what people know is true. There's an
How do
attack
they?
on the
How do
Christian
you?
white man. White people are being painted to be worse than they are. White people are being taught to hate themselves. They're bad people if they have any type of white pride. You know, he
There's some
talks about
truth to
all
that.
these things and he gives specific examples, and people are sick and fucking tired of it. And then there's people who want to pretend to be all rational and fucking this and that, when really, in reality, it's all bullshit. These people are committing crimes. These people are violent. White people are not as bad as fucking people say. And fuck the statistics. That's what people are
Okay,
going
let
with.
me
It's
ask
like,
you
fuck
this.
that.
Let me ask you this. Would it not be a net positive, right, for people that watch Nick Fuentes to take what he says, not at face value, 100%, dissect it, research it, fact check
Yeah,
it,
he says that.
and
He
then
says,
say,
don't believe me. Do your own research.
if he says that, I'll give him that. If he honestly has said that before, then I'll give him that.
I've never heard him say that.
I've never heard him
I
say it
don't know.
either.
I stopped
That's
watching
why,
it, but I
like,
could watch a show from yesterday where he says
Look,
probably the
I took
exact
a
same thing I
2 minute
just said
clip.
verbatim.
Look, listen. I took a 2 minute clip from Nick Fuentes. It's on my YouTube channel, and it took me about 20 minutes to debunk what he said in that 2 minute clip. You know, so like he says a bunch of rapid fire nonsense and hides it behind the facade of like intellectualism, and then he hides it again behind the facade of humor. So you don't even know what he believes because like he can just, oh, that was a
I think
joke, that was
it's
a
pretty
joke.
obvious to tell when Nick Fuentes is lying based on the look on his face and the tone of his voice. If people are being
He's
honest and
always
having
got
a
the
good
same
faith
but
look, you know.
observation,
most
it's
people
because
can't.
they're
That's the
retarded.
problem. Most
Fuck
people
them.
don't know.
But I
No,
mean, the
most
look on
people.
his face and the tone of his voice, you can tell when he's being a little bit, when he's exaggerating a little bit, or just when he's
Okay,
joking.
so Alaska, what's the number one thing that you agree with Nick Fuentes on?
I'd say
It
the
can be
fact that
anything.
people are trying to demonize Christian white males. And there's an attack on the Christian white man for good reason.
I would have to disagree with you on that, Alaska.
What's the good reason?
White males are not victims, especially in America. And
Yeah, they are
there
more than
is
ever.
no, they're absolutely not. And see, and that's a victimhood mentality. And we don't like victimhood mentalities here in
No, they
America.
are more than
Um,
ever. The white
but
man's being demonized. They're teaching
no,
critical
actually, they're
race
not.
theory in schools.
Actually, they're not. They're still at the top of every category for the most part, statistically. They're still the most
Statistically,
hired.
about
They're
what?
still the most desired. They're still the most employed. They're still at the top of high earners. White males are the
When you look at the
least
Zionist
oppressed.
controlled media, they're always painting the white man as
That,
this fucking goof
so
who's the
what? So
feminine
what? People
pussy.
are
And
talking
they're
bad
always,
about you. So what? What is the phrase? Sticks and stones may break
so
my
what?
bones, but words will
There's
never
an
hurt me.
attack. There's a
So
Zionist
you mean
attack
to
on the
tell
Christian
me
white man for a reason. They're the
so you
biggest
mean
threat
to
to the
tell me
Zionists.
so you mean to tell me that the high IQ, the most desired, the richest, and the most employed demographic on earth is feeling oppressed because people say bad things about them? Come on, dude. Like, so
Yeah, when you put it
what?
like that, it's like,
So
Yeah, there's a
what if
cultural attack
people
on the
say
Look,
Christian
bad
white
shit
okay,
about
man.
you? Here's the thing,
I
though.
got some.
So what? So what if people say bad shit about you when there will be some consequences to being at the top? It's just like being the Lakers or being the
Yeah.
Cowboys or any professional team that's the best.
Cowboys.
Of course, they're going to receive the majority of the criticism. But so what? That is a
Let's
part of being at the top of the food chain. So you don't get sympathy for suffering the consequences of being the best. You just have to suck it up and deal with it. You
listen
can't
to
have it
this,
both ways.
Alaska. Black drivers
that's
are
a good point.
stopped more often despite less contraband found. That's on Stanford. Black
You know
youth
what?
are two to.
I mean, come on.
Hang on.
Let's not kid
Let me give you some
ourselves. Let's
stats.
not
Let
kid
me give you some
ourselves.
stats.
When you
Can you let
look
Black
them
on
finish,
youth.
social
bro?
media, how
Hang on.
many people,
Hang on.
I mean, fuck these
Alaska,
stats. Let's talk about real
Alaska,
life.
Let
Tell
him
me you
speak.
disagree,
Black,
though. You don't even live in America.
Let the
Alaska,
host
relax.
speak.
Black youth are 2 to 3 times more likely to be arrested for the same behavior.
Yep.
Prosecutors are 75% more
You know why?
likely
I
to
mean, it's up to
apply.
the
Hang on,
discretion.
let
Like
me
you said, you're
finish.
throwing shit on the wall. How you gonna clean it all off? I gotta address one. I'm not gonna memorize every
Okay,
fucking thing you say.
okay, let's go to the first one. Black drivers are stopped more often despite less contraband found.
So when you, yeah, for good reason. Because when you look on social media, when you
For
look at
good
any police,
reason.
hey, shut the fuck up. When you look
When you
at
look on
police
social
body
media,
cam and you look at when you look at black culture, who are you really gonna suspect a white looking dude? A white looking dude this is where the high when why they patrol more in high crime
Are you
black
still talking?
areas. When you look
He
at
dropped
white
out.
people,
Alaska, are you still talking?
yeah,
Yeah, I can hear
can
him.
Can
you hear
anyone
me?
hear me? Have I cut out?
I can hear you.
Yeah, he's talking to Vinsky, and we can hear you. Can you hear us?
I can't. Alaska, drop down, come back. I can't hear you.
No, Davinsky, it's you. It's
You
you,
can't hear
Davinsky.
me?
I mean, I can hear you.
Oh,
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
can you hear me?
Okay, well, we were able to hear Alaska.
Okay, he's coming back.
Can you hear me, Davinsky?
Yeah, I can hear everyone.
All right.
Welcome to the space. Look, I want to throw it open to the panel too. Dre's
When
been
you look at
quiet. We
black
got
culture, they champion carrying switches, fucking illegal guns, trafficking drugs.
You're a little.
It's more,
You're just
and when you look
spouting
at
like
black culture, when you look at black culture,
exaggerated
what
like
is black culture?
That's
stereotypes.
not a strong enough argument, bro.
It
Yeah,
doesn't need to be a
honestly.
fucking strong argument.
uh,
I
let,
mean,
let's
Fuck
let's
what your
let's
opinion
It
move
about
doesn't
on.
what
need.
my
Okay,
argument is
that's
is the
secondly,
not high
truth.
IQ, man.
Black
okay,
people are they champion the most ghetto activities. What are you talking about?
okay,
So
but
Let's
this
be
is
so
honest
that
here.
means we should
okay.
pull them all over.
Listen. When you have a white driver pulled over and a black driver pulled over, black people
Oh
are
yeah,
pulled
and
over
I
at
was
high.
gonna I was gonna address that. It's up to the
Uh,
police officer's discretion whether they want to make an arrest or not. Black
yeah,
people do
it's
not have
racial
a father in the
profiling.
home. They have a problem with authority, and they cannot even listen to the simplest directions, which probably gets them even more in trouble than they even needed to be. They could have avoided it probably. So the police
Fact,
officer
you
is
know
gonna
what?
make that arrest.
That
So I
would
have
Because
a
he
But
feels
be
this
question.
person,
protection
it's up
but
to their
if
discretion.
because
statistically white drivers are pulled over and they're found with contraband at higher rates, shouldn't you pull over more white drivers?
So what you're saying when white people are pulled over for minor traffic infractions, you're telling me white people have a higher incidence of having illegal contraband in the car as opposed to black
Yes,
people that are
exactly,
patrolled
exactly.
twice as
Yes.
much. They're being patrolled twice as much, so they're going to get pulled over twice as much and found less. So what are you
Yeah.
talking about?
Mm.
So
I
they're
don't think white people are
Jack.
just constantly
Listen.
having.
Look, this is broken down. Black
I'm from
drivers are
Baltimore,
stopped
man.
more
I'm
often
from
despite
Baltimore.
less
And white people
contraband
out here
found.
doing.
So on any average police stop between a white and a white person's going to have more contraband. It's broken down like that.
Yeah,
The
like I
number
said,
of
there's
stops.
anti-white statistics, and I
Okay,
just don't
next
believe
one,
that.
next
But
one,
at the
next one.
same time, let's be
I
honest
only
with
have four of
ourselves.
them.
You think
Let's
white
move on.
people are
Let's move on.
carry?
Let's move on.
Fuck.
Black youth are 2 to 3 times more likely to be arrested for the same behavior.
Yeah, because it's up to the police officer's discretion. I mean, if someone is acting a
For the
certain type
same
of way,
behavior. For the same behavior.
I mean, I don't believe that. I mean, so there's statistics. I mean, how accurate is that? What's
That's
the
from the
I
same
mean it's from
behavior?
the
DOE.
U.S.
What's the
Sentencing
same
Commission, so
behavior?
I mean,
If a white person knocks out someone else in front of a police officer, they're gonna get arrested. If a black person does it, they're gonna get
No, they're two
arrested.
to three
So
times
what are we
less
talking
likely to
about?
be arrested.
How?
Okay,
I
next
just
one,
don't
next
believe
one.
that. That's not any. There's no common sense to that. How?
fact,
No
I
way.
got it. Ready?
Racial
It's called
profiling.
racism. It's not
Yeah.
hard. It's called
Oh,
So
racism.
racism is not
if it's
because
down to the
I'm ghetto
officer's
as fuck
discretion,
and I'm completely insufferable. It's because
It's amazing
racism.
how you don't believe the statistics that don't fit your narrative.
Yeah, because
Yeah, and
like I
like,
said, there's an anti-white
so
agenda, of course,
There's
especially
no
when it
If a
comes to
anti-white
white,
anything.
statistics, because they know
if
people who are trying to be fake intellectuals are going to grab these statistics and use them.
It goes both
okay,
ways though.
prosecutors. I got two
Go
more.
ahead.
I got two more. Prosecutors are 75% more likely to apply mandatory minimums to black defendants.
Also, to piggyback off that, Davinsky, according to the U.S. Sentencing Commission, Black males receive sentences 19% longer than white
That
males
was
for
the
the
last
same
one I was going to read. Yeah.
offense.
Yep.
Okay.
That's the last one I was going to read. So, I mean, look, there is a systemic issue there, Dr. Alaska. And you can, like, your whole mentality is, oh, they're just ghetto fogs. Well, if you saw
They
the
are.
same,
Look at the
look, yeah,
culture.
exactly. So, if you were a police officer and you saw white people behaving the same way, you'd be like, oh, well, the white people are just, I don't know what they're doing. They're just being white. But if a black person does the same behavior, that's a ghetto fog. Let's arrest them,
But when you
right?
look
So,
at the
you're,
free speech platform where you get the most independent, like true definition of journalism, and you see black people acting crazy, driving crazy, and the police are just ignoring them, you don't think there's some sort of political motivation behind that?
there's no data to support that, though.
Well, the data is fucking Twitter. The data is Instagram.
That's an
It seems like you're
algorithm.
pulling from Twitter data more than anyone here. So I mean, like,
You
I
guys are
enjoy
let,
it
let,
lying
too.
to
let,
yourselves.
let's open up the floor. Look, we've had who we got here? We've got Urban. Urban, go ahead. How are you feeling today? Urban, are you there? If not, let's go to Dre. Dre's been quiet for a while. Go ahead, Dre. We got about 500 people listening. Thanks for everyone for joining in. I guess everyone's quiet. Dre, are you there? I think he's got a connection issue. D to the Dre. Go ahead, Dre. Go ahead. Unmute your mic. Take as long as you want.
Yo, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
My bad about that. Sorry it took me so long. Is that Urban Genius that's here?
Yes, that is Urban Genius.
Urban Genius. Assalamu alaikum, brother. Hopefully he can unmute. He's probably trying to figure it out like how I was trying to figure out in the beginning. Yeah, man. Davinsky, I applaud you, man, for what you were doing, man. Because it's really kind of helps the audience really see what's yeah. I mean, this is very revealing. That's all I should say. So yeah, man. Someone here, and I mean, I'm not gonna. You got the stats, statistics, percentages in front of you. I'm not gonna go against that, because numbers don't lie. And there's different variations, different proportions, there's different per capitas and all this other stuff, and you can get down to the nitty and gritty, and all that takes time. Who's really into all that? But we can do it if you like. But because then we're getting far, far away from the original topic at this point. But it is a kind of a part of the overall thing. It's just a little pixel in the big picture. But my apologies, bro. I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm yawning. Daylight savings caught me off guard. So I'm from Baltimore, and I mean, white people are like the minority here, and they're just as much caught up in crime and drugs and shit, just as much black people are. And it's not really no disparaging difference between the two. We've our people here, even Hispanics in some cases, are like, people are like, kind of, anywhere you can go anywhere in America, bro. There's not like one percentage varying more than the other, and like day-to-day crime, and I know we're talking about violent crime here, but I'm just speaking like just from what I know of, as American growing up in Baltimore, whether it's stuff that's, I mean, he just pulled off the statistics. I mean, spread it off. I mean, yeah, bro. I mean, it's even when around my friends and coworkers, it's always a joke. It's like, we have 3 black guys in the car and our white friend is the driver. And it's like, we're joking around. Yeah, we ain't getting pulled over today. Bro. So it's like, I don't know. This is like cultural stereotypes. Some stuff that kind of hasn't necessarily like gone away. So I think it's, I don't think it's something that's necessarily, necessarily like avoidable or can go away. But it is the truth. Black people are probably more likely to get, stereotyped, arrested, pulled over, or treated badly, whatever the case may be. Now, just because that's the case doesn't mean like whatever the guy's thing is. Like, there's people that are actually like that remain extremely calm during police encounters. That's that like follow their orders, their acts before being freaking, like there's usually procedures. People like know those procedures. You put your hand on the dash, on the wheel, put the windows down, make the officer real comfortable, and then most of those stuff usually goes nice and easy. But it's like, and then there will be like these small instances, variations where shit gets, people just run with it, and that's like how everything happens. Like that's not the case. So but if you want to be honest, the statistics are there, that which Davinsky just read, which I appreciate. But again, I think we've gone far, far from the topic by now. I think I don't know why I keep yawning, man. My apologies. Y'all go to the next speaker.
No worries. Guys, we got, what, 7 people on the panel. Who wants to go ahead and say their 2 cents, rather? Any takers? Dr. Urban, are you there? Dr. Urban? Demi?
I'm just listening for now. My phone
Okay.
died, so I'm catching up.
All right. What about you, Jelani?
Look like everybody's busy, man. So if I'll take it away. I'll keep it going. Talking.
What is UFO doing? Or FO?
Afro, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
So
Okay.
what are your takes on what's been said over the past maybe half an hour?
It's just scary, man. It's scary the world we live in and how easily impressionable people are, especially grown men. And a lot of the Groypers, or at least some of them, are grown men, and they do hold these views, and they're going to pass it on to their children if they have them, God forbid. And it's this. It's the cycle's going to continue until someone breaks it. I used to go to this one college program, and there was this girl there, this white girl. She was a mom, and she was so infatuated with Black culture. She goes out of her way to familiarize herself with Black culture, but she does it. She's a very subversive, like, closet racist. Like, she doesn't do it because she actually cares about Black culture. Like, she was doing it because she wants to belittle the Blacks around her. It was a majority Black program, and she has a daughter. She's got a daughter, and she's, if she hasn't already, corrupt her daughter and pass on these views, these destructive and hateful views to her, because I know behind closed doors she's telling her, okay, you know Black girls they're like this, they all wear weave, they don't wear their real hair, you wear your real hair, that's why you're better, da da da. That's just one example. And she's been caught using the N word and things of that nature. So she's just not an honest and genuine person. And these are the people that walk this earth. These are the people that are allowed to have kids. These are the people that are allowed to pass their views on to their kids. And you have a lot of influential people like Nick Fuentes with a large audience, and with that audience comes a responsibility to um, to spread truth, and be intellectually honest and be responsible with the information that you disseminate. And he doesn't do that. A lot of influencers don't do that. And so people going forward need to, do their due diligence and research, similar to what Trey was saying, do their due diligence and research, you know, think for yourself, be critical in your thinking, and don't don't idolize anyone. No one's coming to save you. You are your light in the dark. And yeah, I'll land it there.
Yeah, I think that like fascism is rising. Um, like let's say that there's a police brutality video from 10 years ago. All of the comments would be, BLM. We got to stop this. Now, if there's a police brutality video on a black citizen, what are the comments going to be? It's going to be like an N-word chain. It's going to be like, they deserve it. They're going to be laughing emojis. So it's definitely shifted. And I think that's a bad thing, But yeah, there's definitely been a shift towards the far right and fascism. And there's a quote that says that fascism will enter America draped in an American flag and carrying the Bible. And I believe that to be true. It's like right now we have the emergence of Christian fascism. And, it's a bad thing. I mean,
Sadly, I blame Obama. He was too good of a president. He underscored a lot of the expectation that white Americans had for black people, and because of that, they responded with Donald Trump. And ever since then, we've been on this slippery slope.
yeah, I wish I had to put some money down on Trump. As soon as Trump was talking about, the Mexicans are sending over rapists and criminals, at one point in time, he was paying 200 to 1, meaning if you had to put $1,000 down during 2016, when he was talking about the Mexicans, you would have made $200,000 just off a $1,000 bet. And I had to wish I had put money on him because I knew that like that was the kind of the pop culture at the time. And that would have been easy money. But the thing with Trump is that he panders to these racist dog whistles. And this is what like misconstrues the average MAGA supporter. Is the average MAGA supporter would probably benefit more from the Democrats than they would the Republicans. I mean, the average MAGA diehard supporter is in the Rust Belt. They've got opioid addictions, they have unemployment, they have a lot of societal ills. So they would benefit drastically from democratic policies like universal basic health care, welfare assistance. But because they're white, they feel that they have more in common with someone like Trump than they do their poor Mexican or poor black neighbor, you know? So like that's what Trump's been excellent at. Is he's been excellent at basically appealing to white America and rural white America. And so, someone like Trump, right? Do you think that he has more in common with someone like Obama or someone like, a black elite or a Hispanic elite or an Arab elite? Or do you think that he has more in common with some like poor white guy from Appalachia? Some poor white guy living in a trailer park? I guarantee, like, they may as well be two different races at that point. Like, Trump doesn't give a fuck about someone from, a trailer park in Alabama. But that person in a trailer park from Alabama feels like they have more affinity for someone like Trump by virtue of their skin than they do someone else in poverty of a different race. And that's the divide we have in most countries. It's a divide between rich and poor. It's not a racial struggle. And in some sense, this is my issue with reparations, is that when it comes to reparations, I think that it should be a class-based reparations because all poor people are poor, but not all black people are poor. And so when you make it a racially exclusive policy, that just alienates poor whites, poor Hispanics, and poor Asians. Whereas if you're like, okay, let's have reparations for poor people that have been disenfranchised in America or in any country in the world, let's make it a class-based reparations. But because America's so racially divided, it eliminates people from their class struggle. And that's what Trump's
So
done. Trump's not an idiot. There's a reason that Trump speaks at a fifth. He speaks at a fourth grade reading level. It's the lowest literacy rates out of the past 15 presidents. And Trump's not a smart. He's not a dumb guy. He's a smart person. The reason that he speaks at a fourth grade reading level is because he's appealing to these uneducated whites from the Rust Belt, the flyover states. And it's sad to see because these people, they're taking their race and they're trying to draw affinity with Trump when it's really, look, you have far more in common with people from the ghetto if you're living in a trailer park than you do from someone like Trump. So yeah, that's how I feel about it.
see, here's the thing with Trump, right? So, first to your reparations comment, the United States has already decided that we really can't do anything race based anymore. So it would have to be, lineage based and harm based, and even lineage based. They're saying can be construed, to be race based. They haven't decided that yet, but there's a suggestion that it can be construed. But I have no issue with the lower class of Americans getting, stimulated. But Black Americans must be, repaired first, because reparations is something completely different than what just stimulating the economy through, injecting capital into the lower class or the middle class. Like, so it's something completely different, and the two cannot be, conflated. Even though they would have pretty much the same similar effect of, boosting the economy from the bottom up, we must keep that difference between the two, a significant difference between the two. And then on to Trump. He is most definitely the antithesis of what Obama was. And he was the extreme pendulum swing to the opposite way from Obama. Because as you said, there was a big disdain for Obama. Now he was not perfect, but the vitriol in which he received was not just indicative of his performance. I would say he had a pretty sucky performance, overall, especially from my standpoint. But like I said, the hate and the opposition that he received was not solely or even mostly about his performance at all. And Trump was the answer to that. It was their revenge. And he was able to identify with them because he spoke the language that they spoke, because it was something that mainstream Republicans would not say. That's how he identified with that particular base of America. People really underestimated, the bias and the hate that exists in this country. Like our country was built on that shit. It's in our veins and it's in our blood. So, people really underestimated this shit. And when Trump came and saying things that resonated with the Republican base or the conservative base, even though it was not something that was being espoused by the conservative leadership, they picked up on it. It was almost like, talking cheese with rats. That's a pretty bad comparison, but that's the closest thing I can liken it to, without getting derogatory, because that's how excited and that's how much it infused the conservative base to hear those particular talking points that permeate throughout the base, but was never heard on the national level or on the leadership level coming from the leadership. So to hear this from someone running for president was, man, and for some reason, people had this, it's one thing I hate that people say. They say that when Obama or before Obama got in, America was at some type of, racial unity, that somehow we were so racially together. And that's just the biggest lie in the world, like it's ridiculous how much of a big fucking lie that is. We had just got over the Gina 6 in 2006 and Katrina, by the time Obama got elected in 2008. So, there was never this racial harmony in America, in which they tried to attribute to before the Obama election. But, bringing it back to Trump, people somehow forgot that undercurrent in America was still here. They had somehow tried to force and fool themselves that we were post-racial and that America had moved past racism. It's not so. And we will never move past it because it is something that is baked into our country, And it is not even something that I think we should probably ever try to move past from a standpoint of, just recognizing, the recognition of it. Because trying to deny it is where we get to where we are now. This is where denying what our country actually is gets us to where we are now. Because we're at the point now to where it's boiling out and we can't contain it. The underbelly and the undercurrent that permeates throughout this country is now at a boiling point. It's just like a volcano. It's been compressed and suppressed for so long that now it's just about to pop out. And that's why people like Nick, are so emboldened. And that's why he can talk the shit the way he talks the shit, is because of the undercurrent and the backing that he has from, this volcano, this groundswell of people who feel the same way he feels and who want to hear their message become more mainstream. It's an amazing phenomenon to watch, albeit, titillating. I don't know if titillating is the right word. I won't say it's titillating. Okay,
Like,
all right. Yeah.
the problem, look, the thing with reparations is that it's about optics. And so, you know how racialized America is already. If you were to give reparations based on race, it's just like there's only 13% of the population that would vote on that, especially now. So, if you made it a race, if you made it class-based reparations, the American underclass, the disenfranchised in America based on class, these people have gone through a lot of bullshit. That's why they're so poor. So if you made it a class-based reparations, you would disproportionately benefit Black Americans anyway, because Black Americans are disproportionately poor. And I think that would be the strategy I'd have going forward, because you're just going to isolate voters if you make it a race-based thing. So that's how
Well,
I look at it.
that would just probably have to be the collateral damage, because it is
So
something that has to be taken care of. And then beyond that, there could be other opportunities that this eventually opens up for those other people who are a part of that same, income demographic or tax bracket, but not necessarily a part of the harmed class, because people are going to open businesses. People are going to buy from other businesses. So, there is an infusion there of capital into an economy that everybody will be able to benefit off of. And just because it's being, just because the vehicle being used is harm-based reparations shouldn't negate the fact of the benefit that it will have on, just infusing the economy, with so much capital.
I don't think it's ever going to happen. Like, America had the opportunity to do it, and every time they had a chance to like repay Black Americans for the suffering they have caused, they have opted out to import immigrants and fuck y'all over. The 1965 Civil Rights Act, immediately after it was passed, I think the prison population at that time was around 200,000. Since that, the Civil Rights Act packed, since the Civil Rights Act passed to 2000, our prison population jumped up to 1 million, mostly with Black African Americans. And then they started importing a whole bunch of, immigrants to come in to fill the labor force. So I really doubt that it's ever going to happen. And if it does happen, it's going to be under the Democrats. The Republicans are never going to go along with that.
Well, and that's the other thing with it. There's been a sentiment. Well, there's a growing sentiment change to where more people are, becoming favorable to reparations, especially those of foundational stock, because they understand the harms that were done. So like the sentiment for reparations is actually changing. More people are becoming, very favorable to it. Because they can also see it from an economic standpoint and from an investment standpoint. Despite whatever fears they would try to put in your head, with inflation, they can still see the economic benefit of it. And as a matter of fact, different states have they begin to offer different forms of, reparations or reparative damages to Black Americans in America. Places like California, Washington, Oregon, Illinois. These places have gotten creative with their revenue streams to, provide certain types of, reparatory damages to, Black citizens in their particular states. So it is something that's going to happen. I look at it as how it was maybe, the years before slavery ended. I can imagine 10 years before slavery, people felt like it was never going to happen. Well, most probably felt it. But there were those who noticed the groundswell. There were those who noticed the sentiments changing here and there. albeit small and incremental. Those small incremental changes can matriculate, through the masses. It may take a while, but like a slow drip, it will eventually fill the bucket.
Let's save the reparations. Maybe we can talk about that tomorrow.
Right.
So yeah, let's do that tomorrow, guys. If you have closing comments on anything we said tonight, if you're watching, like and subscribe, whatever platform you're watching on. Shout out to the panel. Thanks for joining tonight. And yeah, tomorrow we'll talk about reparations. So closing statements. Has anyone got anything to say? Let's go through. Dr. Alaska, do you have any closing statements?
Yeah, I was still on the panel, but I was on the phone, so I didn't hear like the past 30 minutes. But yeah, I just want to say I'm not anti-black. I'm anti-black culture, and there's an attack on the Christian white man. Zionist Jews are a problem, and I love everybody.
Okay, Jelani, go ahead. What are your closing statements?
I got something I want to say too before you go.
No, I'm pretty much done. I'll see
Okay,
everybody tomorrow.
Afro, go ahead. Yeah, tomorrow we're going to talk about reparations, guys. We're gonna do this show every day, 7 p.m. EST time. So tune in for tomorrow. We'll do reparations. Afro, go ahead. Closing statements. If not, we'll move on to the other speakers and we'll close up the show.
Yeah, I guess it's funny. Axe says he hates black culture. According to Gallup and Pew Research, black culture is the most influential amongst Americans. It's actually funny because you would think it's like Japanese culture, with how everyone like loves sushi and Japanese food, or like Hispanic culture with how much Americans love Hispanic food and music and things of that nature. But no, it's actually black culture. So thought that was interesting.
So
But
I'm
no,
gonna
I
respond
mean,
to that because you brought me up, but then I'm gonna go. They did a study in the 1950s where they tried to see if a monkey raised in a controlled environment with a baby would. I just got a text. If the monkey raised in a controlled environment with a baby would become smarter because it was pretty much would be raised around a human baby, but what they found was that the baby degenerated in terms like mentally. It progressed like under typical statistics around child development. Like basically the monkey made the baby dumber. So in terms of black culture, degeneracy does spread. If you hang out with idiots, you become more idiotic. So it's easy for degenerative things to be attractive to people who are careless and undisciplined. That being said, that black culture being popular and influential doesn't really mean it's a good thing.
well, this
Fuck
isn't
black culture.
we're not
Love you
talking
all.
about
I'll see you
well,
later.
first of all, Davinsky already told you that humans, period, are just so far removed genetically from monkeys and primates. But that's number one. Number two, this study didn't highlight, twerking as a factor or anything like that. It highlighted, hairstyles, music, food, and you could attribute, twerking as an aspect of, you know, black music, but it's only a small demographic of black artists that because most black artists are males, not females. So again, this study highlighted things like the tangible, like food, music, um, attire, hairstyles, etc. So that's a false equivalency. But anyway, um, shit. Yeah, I mean, do your due diligence and research, people. It's okay to be funny and make jokes, stereotypical jokes. Nothing wrong with having a strong sense of humor. I think as a culture, humanity period has become a lot more sensitive, and we need to revert to uh, having a strong sense of humor and being able to joke about things and while at the same time not disparaging others. And yeah, I'll end with that.
Yeah, well said. Let's go to Urban. Are you there? You've come up. You haven't spoken at all. If not, we'll go to Demi. Demi, go ahead. Closing statements.
Oh, thanks, Davinsky, for having this conversation. I really appreciated hearing the different perspectives. It was very insightful. Yeah, that's pretty much it, man. Nothing is wrong with black culture. The rise of Nazism right now is because the economy is trash. If the economy gets better, it's gonna calm down. Hopefully, we can get through it without it getting bloody. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Well said. Okay, Dr. Dre, go ahead, closing statements, and we'll close up the show. D to the Dre.
Yes, I'm here. Yeah, thank you for the show, man. It was a great show. I'm gonna go back and rewatch it on Facebook. And yeah, I can't wait for the conversation tomorrow in regards to reparations. I definitely have a lot of an opinion on that as far as who should pay reparations and who should receive reparations when it comes to in America and black people.
All right, guys, thank you. And tune in tomorrow, 7 p.m. EST time. We'll talk about reparations. Thanks to the guests for joining, and peace out, everyone. Bye.